Islam, 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 peace, peace. Greetings to you all. Sheikh Way L, aka Lord Abba, aka Mr. Just the Facts. Bear with me for a moment. Ali Bayin, and we're gonna get into this process of going at and debunking these Murakush guys. So just give me 1 second. Tonight's show, we're gonna really the claims that were made on the show. Of course, I've been through that particular thought, if you will. I was one of the members there. I became one of the main members, actually. That one of the things that I was able to do, the tactics these guys were employing in their sovereignty scheme. It is what it is. I'm gonna call it what it is. We, after we fell out at blood, in fact, where about guys were doing, knowing what it got a little ugly, but in that I was able to expose some things. These guys went away for years, back up. These guys have been dissing people of America, and now they're trying to rehash sovereign citizen Moorish tactics. They try to, of course, say that it's not sovereign citizen, etc., etc. What it is. So we're going to get into these claims tonight. Was making. I got my brother Ali Bey on.
Peace. Yeah, I'm here. Peace, bro. What's going on?
Oh man, ready to get this thing rolling. I'm trying to get my other, because my laptop is on. I'm just trying to get that up real quick. But if you wanted to just give a brief introduction while I'm doing that.
Yeah, peace. It's Ali Bey. I'm here with brother Sheikh Deshaun Way L to go into some of this information, talk about some of the claims that have been made by people pertaining to different statuses and things of that nature. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about this stuff, and we're going to try to bring some other points of view, specifically dealing with the reality of what we're actually looking at. Okay, because I think a lot of times what we wind up dealing with are people who are misconstruing a lot of things, misapplying a lot of things that really has one thing has nothing to do with the other, stuff like that. So I'm here.
Definitely. Now, one of the things that kind of getting to me right now, even though it shouldn't be to me, is the fact that the guy that did the first show
is hosting a show right now. Hold on, let me mute out on the laptop. Yeah, it's long. Let me.
Yeah, it's long.
Yeah, I hear you.
Definitely. I don't know why my joint is not muting now.
Can you hear me, Ali?
Yes.
Okay, well, we're going to proceed. We're just going to proceed. I'm going to try.
I hear like a loop in the audio, like feedback, not like a echo. Yeah, you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be coming through your line, maybe. I don't know. All right, nevertheless, we're gonna try to get.
Now both of yours are muted, I think, and okay, you got the other one. Yeah, that one is probably going to be better because unless you sign out of that one and just use the other, yeah,
Yeah, can you hear me?
right. But are you going to have problems with this particular login?
Well, we're going to try to give this a go. We're going to try to give this a go.
Right.
I can do screen share. My laptop is so, I mean, it freezes up on me to the
Okay.
planes and start from where begin question, because the first question, critical question, that
Now
question
on my end, it does sound as if you kind of like, it sounds like you're kind of breaking up. I don't know how it sounds to people listening, but it did sound like you were breaking up a little.
I'm trying to figure out why is it doing that.
You sound good now.
I'm trying to do this. I don't know if everybody can see me right now, but things that's bothering me a little bit is that we're doing a show going at the guys that basically handed their butts to him the other night. In my opinion, just based off the fact it weren't strong enough what these guys were saying, you got to crush them. So I don't know if you all can see my screen out there.
I see it.
You see it? Okay, I'm going to try to go into screen sharing mode, put my other screen on mute so that it doesn't, it says still breaking up. And I don't know why when I to a phone, the other get an echo. It shouldn't be doing that at all if I have one muted out. All right, Ali, can you hear that?
I hear. What, are you playing the video?
Yes.
I can't hear anything right now. I see it, but I can't hear it.
That's not going to work. The screen sharing aspect is not going to work. Get out of that. What we'll do is we'll just give our commentary on what was said. I've taken note together. This question is asked at 1635. What was odd, guy that calls himself Cheyenne claimed that he was going to speak for himself. The guy that calls himself Elamir would answer, imply that they were basically not one and the same to standard of Murakush's insofar as is concerned.
You should try one more time if you can to log in through I think it was your phone. You said you was trying to do it, but it was creating like that audio loop. So it was giving like a delay or something, not a delay, but like a echo effect. You should, but you sounded clearer. You sounded clearer when you were on. It's just that it was giving that echo effect. I don't know if there's some kind of way to there's no way to log off the computer and just do it through the phone.
Yeah, but then I won't be able to screen share. but I can do that.
Okay.
And we can just go. I don't even know if I'll be able to log off from the computer. Let me just see real quick.
All right, because what you have to say is so important. I don't want it to get lost with this bad connection. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. Let me see. Let me see something here. But if you wanted to just comment real quick, this thing going more, please do.
Yes.
The first question,
just starting with the very, very first initial question, which was about citizenship. It should have been a very clear, straightforward question about citizenship, and what it was supposed to be was a question asking specifically what country, and by country we mean a sovereign autonomous political body, what country were they citizens of? And that question is being asked for a very, very specific reason that leads into a whole bunch of other series of questions following it based upon their response to that particular question. So the question is, and we'll pose it again the way that I would have posed it specifically to them. What country are they citizens of? Meaning have a political relationship to, and that has a political relationship to them. What country? And that, from that point, when we get the answer to that, we can move forward into a whole series of other things that need to be addressed.
Definitely, definitely. Can you hear me?
Very well.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I understood what the problem was. I was supposed to mute out my speakers on the other line as opposed to just, just muting the stream. But anyway, right. Cheyenne, first, and you're right. The brother, I really don't even like calling these guys names because, and I don't mean the guy that calls himself Cheyenne and the guy that calls himself Elamir at this point. I mean, the fact of the matter is I got some haters in the MST of A, and the brother Sharif Bey is one of them. We make no bones about it. But I'll say his name here. Sharif, he botched the question because he added the word nation in there. I know the way this guy Cheyenne thinks. He's so slick and witty and quick on his feet that when Sharif added what country or nation you're a citizen of, in his mind, Cheyenne is processing it. So what Cheyenne does is says, so wait, that's the first question? Because he's putting the answer together in his head. I know this guy. I know him very, very well. So what Cheyenne goes on to do is ask for clarification on nation. He says, what do you mean in the ethnographic or ethnological sense? Sharif continues with the breakdown of a nation, which fell right into this brother's trap. A country is defined by its geographical boundaries, and all members are subject to its jurisdiction. And so the question that should have been posed was, what country are you a citizen of? Now, this got the whole ethnological and ethnographic aspect, which was just
it was a straw argument. It was a diversion from. In other words, he took a political question and turned it into an ethno question. It had nothing to do coming from me, because to be honest with you, I suggested the question. But the bottom line is he took what was intended to be a political question And it is qualified by the word citizen, because the word citizen inside of the question denotes that we're speaking politics. We're not talking about an ethno anything. We're talking a political relationship, because the term citizen denotes a political relationship to a government. So he took a political question and tried to convert it into one dealing with ethnography. It had nothing to do with ethnography in any way, shape, or form. It was intended to be a political question, and he never answered that question.
Well, let me say, he said that his nation, he was a part of the Moor nation, which makes no sense to me. And this is why he wanted to ask, was it ethnographic or ethnological? I mean, it was slick. And, you know, of course, I'm sitting there and I'm listening to it, and I'm just, you know, I'm laughing, because I know how it would have been if myself or if you or if Where L or if Grimion L was on the show. We would have never let them get around that aspect, because he would go on to claim that he was not a member of any nation state. Now, the nation state is what? A nation state is the country that has a predefined geographical boundary. Now, if you're not a member, and I want everybody to pay attention to this, if you are not a member of a nation state, you are a stateless person. That means you have no rights of any country. You have absolute. Now, you can be a member of a nation and still be a stateless person, because according to the definition of nationality, it is not necessarily defined by territoriality. But nation, on the other hand, I want to read from the Black's Law Dictionary real quick. This is Black's Law, 5th edition. Nation, a people or aggregation of men existing in the form of an organized jural society, usually inhabiting a distinct portion of the earth, speaking the same language, using the same customs, possessing historic continuity, and distinguished from other like groups by their racial origin and characteristics, and generally, but not necessarily, living under the same government and sovereignty. So again, you can be a part of a nation, but you can't be claimed to be part or not be part of a nation state and still claim to have jurisdiction to do what Murakush is trying to do. How can a stateless person file documents in the courts of the, not just the United States of America, but any country on this whole planet Earth? Who can explain that to me? No one.
Here's my point about not straightforward answering the question of citizenship. One of the things that he did was he tried, like I said, he tried to convert it into a question of some kind of ethno relation, and going into the aspects of nations. However, he does proclaim to be a stateless individual in the form of a foreign national, but he's saying that he's stateless because he said he's not a citizen. He ultimately did say that he's not a citizen of any country. In other words, he has no political, because for me, when you tell me that you're not a citizen of any country, what you're telling me is that you have no political ties to any established nation state government on this planet.
That's right.
So basically, when you're saying you're stateless, you have no political nationality. Now, you may have a national descent where you're connected to some group of people, ethnic bloodline, whatever the case is, but the bottom line is you don't have a political relationship to any government. And that's really the point of the question of what country are you a citizen of. That's why I asked the question. I'm always trying to get to the place of what government, what established government are you considered a member of? Who are you tied to? Who are you tied to? And the reason that I'm asking that, is because people are going to start claiming that they have treaty rights. So I'm not going to jump too far ahead, but That's the reason I'm asking, because I'm ultimately trying to get to what makes you think that you have treaty rights if you're not politically tied to any party to that treaty. But go ahead, bro. I'm not going to go too far with it.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get to that. Somebody put in the chat, the country is Murakush. Like Murakush is a city within Morocco. But we're gonna get to that. Well, you wanted to say something on that?
No, I agree 100%. It's a city in Morocco. That's it.
That's it. We're gonna get to that. Okay. At the 2206 mark, El Amir comes in and he disagrees with both Sharif and his own partner on whether nationality and citizenship is synonymous, which shows that they are at odds within themselves. And I want people to go back and listen to this. You know, a confidence man, I want people to look up the origin of the word con man. Con man is short for confidence man. And a confidence man is somebody that can sell you something, particularly a lot, so good that he instills confidence within you, and so it causes you to purchase the thing or believe the thing that he's trying to either sell you or make you believe. So, okay, now when asked on clarification on the citizen question, right? El Amir claimed that he wasn't a member of the Moorish nation, but a member of the Murakush Caliphate. Just for clarity's sake. You wanted to say something real quick?
No, go. I just said whatever, but go ahead.
Now, Murakush, first and foremost, is an entity that was created by Shyam and El Amir around, 2009, 2010. They started off as, I believe, the International Aboriginal Consortium or something to that effect. They then changed their name to the Aboriginal Law Institute. This is when I joined. From there, we became the Murakush Imperial Temple of Amexem or something like that. Then after we fell out, they changed it to the Murakush something, or Murakush Caliphate of Amexem. Now, as they admitted on the show, it's the Murakush something of America, which, why would you change it to America if you're not a citizen? These guys are claiming to not be citizens of the nation of the United States of America, unless they're making the sovereignty MERS claim that they're speaking about all of America, because some MERS do that. They say, well, when we say America, we're speaking about the whole continent called the Americas. I say, well, American is a demonym for the United States of America. And I give an example. People in Chile are Chileans. People in Brazil are Brazilians. People in name some countries in Mexico are Mexican. Like, people in Canada are Canadians. These people do not and would not identify themselves as American. American is exclusively used for citizens of the United States of America. Right. So why change it from Amexem to American if you have no political ties, which you claim you're an expatriate from, and that some of your members are still citizens of the United States of America, which, I mean, it makes no sense. Why would I listen to a self-proclaimed stateless person telling me that I should remain a citizen of a country? Why are you not a citizen of that country? Then shouldn't I be following in your footsteps?
You know what's crazy about what you're saying? And I didn't even think about this, but until you just said it, you got a group of people. Some are in this organization as if this organization or this entity is some kind of independent sovereign power called Murakush. Then some of their members are citizens of the United States. What kind of, like, So this thing is like a bunch of scattered individuals. They like all over the place kind of thing. There's no unified thing. There's no one thing that these people are. They like, you know, some of them are citizens, some of them are Murakush members, you know, whatever the case is. It's where's the unification within that particular structure?
And look, and these people they predicate themselves around creating straw arguments. Somebody in the chat said, well, what about you? You went from Nuwapu to Murakush to MSTFA. That's not the same thing. Teaching is different. If I'm not satisfied being a Christian and I like Islam better, then I'll go to Islam. If I'm not satisfied in Islam and I like Buddhism better, then I'll go to Buddhism. What these guys are doing is taking European sovereign citizen information, rehashing it, right? And then changing the name of it as if they're somehow changing the aspect of what it is that they're teaching. When I got to the Moorish Science Temple of America and I started teaching, I didn't teach the same thing that I taught when I was a Nuwapian. I didn't teach the same thing that I taught when I was a 5%er. So that's question is a straw. It's
a fallacy. It's a fallacy.
And it's ridiculous. It's really.
And they're trying to conflate two different things. And the fact of the matter is, the crux of the jurisdiction or the lack of jurisdiction argument, this thing comes from the Christian Europeans. There's no way around it. No way around. I don't care how they try to repackage it and claim that, you know, more is this and more is that. It doesn't matter. There's nothing in the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the United States and Morocco that says that the United States somehow relinquishes its ability to enact and enforce legislation. There's nothing in there that says that. And they will never be able to prove it. I don't care what you decide to call yourself. You can call yourself a Moor because you don't like the ish. You can call yourself a Mur because you don't like Moor. It doesn't matter what you're calling yourself. The fact of the matter is, and even with I don't want to go too far, man, but you know, sometimes when I start talking, but anyway, all right, let me just pull it back. It doesn't matter what you're calling yourself. The Treaty of Peace and Friendship does not anywhere state that the United States relinquishes its ability to enact and enforce legislation. It just doesn't say it. So I don't know where they're getting this from. Neither does it grant any immunity from arrest, prosecution, conviction, and incarceration. So where are they getting this crazy, kooky idea from that it does? I don't know.
That's right. And I want to try to pull up the video, but my laptop is just moving so slow because I want to play this stuff in its context so that people can, you know, can hear exactly what's going on. But if I'm not able to, I mean, I'm just going to keep on because I took notes according to the audio. Now, the Elamir claim
notes. You took timestamp notes. So
yeah, basically, because I thought I would be able to play it as we went along, but it's all good. Now, Elamir claimed that the Murakush Caliphate was a body politic, right? Now, how are you a body politic if you're self-proclaimed stateless individuals? The brother Shyam claimed that he is not a member of any nation or state. Now, is it that Elamir is still an American or a United States citizen, if you want to be technical? And Shyam is not. That's why when the question was asked, what country are you a citizen of? Shyam said, well, I'll give you my perspective and then I'll let Elamir give you his.
Right, because they see it differently, obviously.
You see, so there's confusion in their own thing. And they accused their opponents of being intellectually dishonest. If that wasn't the pot calling the kettle black, I don't know what is. I know these guys. They frame everything they do out of intellectual dishonesty, and we're going to prove that. Now, Elamir went on to claim that they were recognized as Moors by judicial decrees. So what they did was they showed some record. And
was it their records?
No, first and foremost, let's get into that. When I won my case, when I was with Murakush, I won my case. They tried to make jokes about it afterwards. They said I stole a TV from Rent-A-Center. I was trying to follow their processes and showing them I'm brave enough to do this and see if it works. Well, anyway, I won my case, right? And if I stole a TV, I'm quite sure I would have been arrested for robbery, armed robbery, or whatever the case may be. But so the claim was frivolous and it was just childish, and that's the mentality of those two brothers.
So you didn't get locked up behind that situation.
Well, I got locked up behind not showing up to court, following behind their sovereign citizen tactics, where we can just file a bunch of paperwork and you know we don't have to appear in court. That was false.
Yeah, failure to appear.
Failure to appear. The same thing happened to El Amir. He was locked up for a year. They raided a coke / crack house that he was living in. And these are facts. I'm not trying to, well, I can throw pop shots, as he called it.
Look, no, it's not a pop shot because you're talking about the history. You're talking about actual history of what took place. So when he got arrested, because I remember listening to the blog talks. I used to listen to them blog talks and you know all of the bragging and everything that was going on. When he got arrested and he was jailed for that year time period, it was a good little minute. He was gone. I remember on the blog talk it being spoken about that people were writing to him and sending letters with the name El Amir on it, and they was, you know, there was like there's nobody here by that name, you know, the guy that they had was, you know, Cornell Dixon or whatever his name is, right?
That's right.
So,
That's right.
You know, they wasn't trying to buy that, even though at that time they were making very big claims that they had figured all of this stuff out. They were teaching courses, they were charging people for these courses because they were the ones who figured all of this stuff out before everybody else did, and blah blah blah. So you know, you're talking about people who were supposedly expatriates, and they had a whole dissolution, and you know all of this stuff that they claimed that they had this. So when he got locked up, my question to you is, when he got locked up, was he supposedly a self-proclaimed Moor expatriate, dissolved all of this stuff? And if he did all of that, why was he in there? Why was he locked up if he had treaty rights that protect him from arrest and incarceration? And why were they calling him by the name Cornell Dixon?
That's right. Now, they claimed that they had a dissolution process, and that this dissolution process dissolved all of their current contracts with the United States of America, because this is a big theme in the sovereign citizen ideology, that you are relinquishing your allegiance, if you will, to the United States of America, to which they call a corporation. Now, while the brother was locked up, and you know I was right there, I was one of the partners with the Aboriginal Law Institute, the jurisconsult is what I called myself. And because I would find little things and here and there that really, in my research skills, just start getting better and better and better. Now, it got to the point where, I mean, me and El Amir started phasing Cheyenne out. During the blog talk shows, it would just be me and El Amir building. You know, on the codes, and Cheyenne would come in the back channel after like, yo, y'all dudes was going in. I got to step my game up, because that's why, you know, I understand the law and I understand the process, and I understand that what these guys are doing is so frivolous, because the more I studied that stuff, the more I seen it was false. Now, they were calling him by these names because he never relinquished his U.S. citizenship. Till this day, these guys haven't relinquished their U.S. citizenship. They're broadcasting from some place in the United States of America. And if the guy that calls himself Cheyenne is in the United States of America broadcasting right now, right, then he's here illegally. How did you get here? Did you cross the border? Did you come through the Canadian border? You would have to have snuck through. You never claimed that you were in any other country broadcasting at the time. You're right here in the United States of America. You're not a foreign national. And I want you people to look this stuff up. And we're going to get into these things later. Now, I was trying to pull up.
While you're doing that, let me just say this.
Yeah, definitely.
Foreign national by the United States government can include a stateless person, right? It can include a stateless person. And this is, from, like I said, from what I get and what I gather from what they're saying is that they're actually self-proclaimed stateless individuals. I don't know if they actually went through some kind of an expatriation process. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they did relinquish their citizenship. You remember earlier we were reading the piece where the brother Ishmael Bey had asked another brother about his experience with relinquishing his citizenship, and would he do it again? And the brother his response was like, hell no. It was the worst decision he had ever made. That's right. And you see what happened with Mos Def. I love to bring up the issue with Mos Def because Mos Def, other than just playing games with it the way these guys are playing games with it and want to stay here, Mos Def actually he went hard with it. He went like, yo, I'm leaving the country. I'm relinquishing my citizenship. I'm taking my family with me. We're going to South Africa and we're going to do this thing. We're going to really do this thing, man. And guess where Mos Def Yasin Bey is right now? He's back here in the United States.
That's right. So we see that stuff doesn't work. And I want to make this note. They claim, the Murakush guys claim that they have judicial decrees. This is what Elamir said. First and foremost, there was the reparations, the last reparations case. Oh, what year was that? 2009, 2010, maybe 2011. I can't remember the exact year. It was embroiled in, of course, forced labor and race. And the judge, one of the things that the judge said was that the issue of race is not something that can be determined by the judicial branch. I urge you all, pull up the reparations case. It's the last reparations case. Forgive me, I don't have the year. I just thought about this. It just popped in my head. The judge said the issue of race is something that's handled by the judicial branch. This is why we elected Oscar the Priest. And one of the things that Elamir claimed was that they didn't see records when it was brought up that Oscar the Priest was drafting a bill to have our status changed. Excuse me, not status. Let me correct myself. Have our identity changed from Negro, Black, and colored to Moorish. And when Oscar the Priest got into office, he didn't fulfill his obligation. There are letters between, I believe, Oscar the Priest and Emeliel, certain grand bodies of Moors. They got the quote-unquote hot box. They got these things. They will only read them on air, or if you come to their convention, so they convince you to be a member because they actually have some old letters. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, Congress issues these decrees. If the judge will decide to call you, the judges decided that they was going to call me Nebu Abare El Bey. Did that mean they recognize me as that? No, because they AKA'd it with Deshaun Way. Now, at the 24-minute, 15-second mark, Shyam asked the question pertaining to Prophet Noble Drew Ali being a true Moorish American. And he frames his question in this sense. Was Noble Drew Ali recognized legally and politically as a Moorish American? And, Sharif would ask him to clarify what he means. Like, what is your definition of Moorish American legally and politically? And let me see my note says he clarifies it by stating that the state of Illinois and the government itself recognize the prophet as a Moorish American. Okay. Obviously, and this is key. This is key. It's obvious that the Moorish Americans were recognized as Moorish Americans. The Chicago Defender, or what's the other newspaper? What's the other Chicago news? There's two major newspapers at that time. Both of them recognized the Moorish Americans. Prophet Noble Drew Ali held conventions where prominent Chicago politicians came in and they recognized the Moorish Americans. It was by the vote of the Moorish Americans that several prominent politicians either got reelected or elected into new offices. That question is loaded because the Murakush guys, just like the rest of the sovereign citizen Moors, and even some misinformed members of the MST of A, believe that black is a legal status. And it is not. Black is merely a racial classification and nothing more.
That's right.
Now, let me see.
It's a social, it's a social classification. It's not a legal status. And the reason, and we talked about this earlier, the reason that we know that black, specifically black, is not a legal status is because there's no underlying law that ties our people to that identity. There's no law that requires you to self-identify as a black person. As a matter of fact, when you dealing with the federal census records, you can use anything that you can. There's no law stopping you from checking white in those boxes. There's no law from you writing in that you are actually a Moorish American. You can. There are people who use those. There are people who use those census documents to write in things like almond. People use them to write in things like ebony. But see, that lets you know that there's no it's not legal because there's no law governing how you use that stuff.
That's
and whether or not there's some legal ramification for not using it.
That's right.
If it was a legal status, it would not have been so easy for us to transition from black to African American. There would have been some kind of fallout, some kind of lash back for so-called black people trying to transition into African American. There would have been a problem with that. But
that's right. Now check it more. Check it. This is according to uslegal.com definition. The definition of legal status, they break it down like this. Legal status is the status defined by law. It is the standing of an entity. That's right, as you was just explaining. For example, citizenship and marital status. Citizenship is the status of a citizen with rights and duties. Marital is the status of a person who's either married or unmarried. Again, this is uslegal.com. So let's break that down real quick. The status of a prisoner, according to the 13th Amendment, is someone whose rights are limited in the sense that they are subject to involuntary servitude. Says it right in the 13th Amendment. So,
hey, let me just inject this real quick.
Please.
It's a convict is a citizen with disabilities,
basically,
and so that's a status.
That's right.
A foreign national alien is a status with disabilities.
That's right.
It is not a status that is comparable to that of citizen. A citizen is, and let me just say this: some people have problems with whether or not citizen and national are one and the same. They're not. Almost any legal text will tell you that citizen and national, although sometimes they may be used synonymously or interchangeably, are not necessarily one and the same. One is broader than the other. And citizen is not a nationality. Citizen is a reference to a national who has full civil and political rights.
That's
So
right.
citizen is, in this country, in a republic, citizen is the highest political status that you can have, not foreign national, because a foreign national is a disabled person.
That's right.
It's a disabled person. There's no foreign national running any of these, any level of government in this country.
That's right.
Okay, so they can promote this BS idea about being a foreign national and somehow influencing the political landscape, but that's BS, because in all practicality, even though some say in theory that a foreign national can vote, in the reality of it is, in all practicality, the reality of it is this: those state's attorneys and prosecutors that are bringing these Moors into courts and convicting them and charging them, these are not foreign nationals doing this. These are citizens doing it.
That's right.
Okay, them judges that are giving out sentences to Moors who are playing games with jurisdiction, those ain't foreign nationals. I guarantee you, every last one of them judges sitting on them benches are citizens of the United States. The legislators, the representatives of the various constituencies around this country are citizens of the United States.
That's right.
Is occupied by citizens of the United States, not no damn foreign nationals. So stop playing.
That's right. And look, Elamir tried to say something to the effect, now there's debate going on as if a foreign national could actually become a president of the United States of America. Like,
ain't gonna happen.
But the thing is, they're indicting themselves because they prove that they are people that have a limited power. A foreign national is not higher than a citizen. This is why Arnold Schwarzenegger can never become the president of the United States of America. Right. It's as simple as that. Like, right. and
it's a form of second class or third class. Like, in other words, even if there was such a thing, because United States law doesn't acknowledge anything called a second class citizen. There's no body of law that acknowledges any such thing. But if there was, it would be somebody who naturalized into the United States, because a naturalized person would never be able to obtain the office of president or vice president of the United States. You have to be a natural born citizen. That means that you don't have the full reach or the full advantage that a citizen has in this country.
That's right.
So just to the point that you're making about Arnold Schwarzenegger or any naturalized citizen, because there's a lot of Moors who advocate for naturalization. Still, that is a citizen with disadvantage.
That's right.
That is a citizen with disabilities, because you don't have the same access to the complete political landscape that a natural born citizen does. So to give that up is to not understand what a citizen actually is and what it means to be a citizen with responsibilities in this country.
And that excellent breakdown. And it goes to show again that these guys are, look, let's read citizen from the Black's Law Dictionary. We're not going to be able to get through all of these claims that these guys made, but we're going to get through the key claims that they have made. Let's read citizen in according to the Law Dictionary, which is basically, the understanding of what a citizen is in any sense of the word, where you're dealing with a democracy.
And what I said was that a citizen is not a nationality. Citizen is a reference to a national who has full political and civil rights. Now, the definition, watch.
Now check it. Citizen, one who, under the Constitution and laws of the United States or of a particular state, is a member of the political community. Now that's key, because in reading the definition of nationality, it speaks about nationality determining one's political status. This is why Prophet Noble Drew Ali let it be known that we are citizens. He was basically saying, don't believe these people that are telling you that you are not. Don't believe them. You are citizens of these United States. This is why he broke down the 14th and 15th Amendment and said it wasn't necessary for our salvation, because the Supreme Court dissent of Dred Scott, Justice Curtis had already proven that through the congressional records, and these were records that Brother Ali Bey has found, that we have, I posted on my Facebook page, have used to debunk Murakush. Like I said, we ran these guys up out of groups. That's why they would never accept the challenge to come on and have the debate with us. But let me finish reading. It says of citizen, owing allegiance and being entitled to the enjoyment of full civil rights. This is what the Civil Rights Acts were passed for. They were reminders of what the Constitution had bound us up as one people that entered into the social compact, which was the Constitution of the United States of America. Before that, which was the Articles of Confederation, which Justice Curtis showed in his dissent to Justice Taney that in at least 5 states, our people enjoyed the right, the privilege of the elective franchise, suffrage, i.e., e.g., being able to vote, and that their vote, which was said in the Congressional Globe, I don't have that source in front of me, but I broke that down on the last show, showed and proved that we were in fact citizens from day one. The guy Cheyenne was saying that we were basically never citizens. We're going to get to that. We're going to check
this out. Just to add to that, what people don't realize is that the adoption of the United States Constitution was done by individuals, not by state representatives. The individuals in their capacity as individuals, which included so-called Negroes, got together, formed citizens conventions.
That's right.
And they decided as citizens, as the people adopted the United States Constitution as the unifying and founding document for the United States, coming out of the Articles of Confederation. It was the people, and the people, aka the sovereign people. Y'all can go to the Black's Law Dictionary and look up sovereign people, because all of this is important. Included, quote unquote, Negroes.
That's right. Now, the ending of Citizen says citizens are members of a political community. Murakush, they're not a member of any political community.
Right.
They claim that they are still subjects of the Sultan of Morocco. What are you talking about? There hasn't been a Sultan of Morocco since at least 1956. They are a kingdom now that is ran under a constitutional monarchy. So this idea, this false notion that these guys are pushing, I mean, it's fantastical. It makes no sense. But it says, but let me just read this real quick. Citizens are members of a political community who, in their associated capacity, have established or submitted themselves, as you were just breaking down, to the dominion of a government for the promotion of their general welfare and the protection of their individual as well as collective rights. So when the guy Cheyenne is saying that, and let me say this real quick. When the guy Cheyenne is saying that the Constitution and American laws is there to protect the individuals, and that is what he pushes, first and foremost, this is antithetical to Islamic teaching. I forget the surah and verse, but one of this where it speaks about like brotherhood, but one of the surah and verses says that we were created from a congealed clot of blood, and that Allah made us nations and tribes of people so that we may know each other. So even out of the one Adam and the one Eve, the two, many were created, and that through this human union, diverse nations, according to the Quran, that these guys claim to follow were implemented on the planet, all over the planet. So this claim that these guys are making, Martin Bernays, I want, again, y'all always hear me bring this up because it is so important. He was the one that established this doctrine of individualism, which led to existentialism, which was the practice of individualism. Again, go to Wikipedia, look up, because it's for general definitions. I always recommend Wikipedia because it gives breakdowns. For things based on historical accuracy, I do not recommend it, particularly if you're doing scholastic research. But if you look up individualism and if you look up existentialism, this is the basis of the sovereignty movement. And the brothers that were going against the Murakush guys on that show last night basically broke that down. You can't be one-man nations. And think about it. The guy Shyam said, I'm going to answer on what I think it means. And then I'll let Elamir come in and answer on what he thinks it means, which means that there is no conformity. So what these guys are promoting is Bernays' implementation of getting people to think about themselves. Prophet Noble Drew Ali came to break us out of this. In our instructions, in our lessons, it teaches us that no man lives unto himself, for all living things are bound by cords to every other living thing. And yet these guys who are opponents of the Moorish Science Temple of America are opponents of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who have done absolutely nothing of worth, are trying to promote something that's not just the antithesis to Prophet Noble Drew Ali, but is also the antithesis of the very Islam that they claim that they represent. This is hypocrisy at its finest.
That's a fact. That's an actual fact. That is an actual fact, man. You know, it is about individualism. This is why the approaches are always based on individualism. Or this guy went to court and he prayed to the court and pleaded with the court to, you know, so that he can, you know, identify himself this way and, you know, allow him to identify himself that way and not have other people view him as black. Let me tell you something. It doesn't matter what the court you think the court allows you to do in that aspect, because we're saying that black as a social classification is going to be what the most people in the United States think you are. And the reason that is because the majority of our people will self-identify as black or African American. And so the so-called white people in this country, who they're the ones that these guys are really trying to convince. At the end of the day, if you really think about the reason for going through all of these problems, is because they're trying to etch in the minds of quote unquote white people that, hey, we're not black folks, we're actually Moors. They're really trying to convince white people that they're actually Moors. That's what this is really about. You know, so at the end of the day, the majority of the so-called white Americans in this country are still going to call, whether they got some court document that the majority of Americans don't know about, whether they calling themselves Moors, whether they call themselves Moorish, it doesn't matter. The majority of so-called white Americans are going to still identify these individuals as blacks.
That's
and
right.
The reason that is because as a collective, the group is using these names, blacks and African Americans. So until the collective, and this was the point that, you know, Sharif and Ishmael were probably trying to get to them, until the collective as a unit, the way they did with African American, until you can get a mass amount of people to use this and to agree with it, it's going to still be the same thing. That's
right. That's right. See, these guys want to remain internet sovereigns. They want to rule from their internet. They do not. Where are they active at? They claim that the Moorish Americans did nothing and haven't done anything for the past 100 years. And today, Brother Ali was just pulling up so much stuff. Too bad I can't do the screen share. Show the brother that just opened up his own convenience store. I mean, just a bunch of different things that we were pulling up. Moorish Americans. What in the world has the Murakush group built? They have been in existence since at least 2008, 2009. And let me make this one other point. He claimed that they were the first to use the term status correction, and that's false. The first person that I know that was using the term status correction was this guy named Neb, whom I met Abundance Child through, that had a group called Collective Parliament. So these claims, like, I mean, that's not a claim to fame to you reinvented an aspect of this sovereign citizen stuff. We're just not going to call it sovereign citizen stuff. This is absolutely crazy. And it segues into the next point at 31 minutes and 30 seconds of that debate, I guess you can call it that. Cheyenne claimed that they have entities set up to provide services that allows them to move as free Moors in this country and several other countries as well. See, if we would have been on that panel, if they were debating us, because I would never go on, I'll say his name, Taharka Bey's channel, because he's that guy. To me, he hates me just like Sharif hates me, just like the rest of them guys hate me. And he's put up video after video slandering my name and making up stuff about me, and then in the next breath calls himself a Muslim, which is extremely funny to me. But nevertheless, these questions, we would have hit them with these questions during the rebuttal aspect of because we're going to think quick. Number one, what are these services you provide? One of the books that they sell is Right to Travel. Right to Travel is a classic sovereign citizen tactic. This idea that you do not need a driver's license. Again, you don't need to buy a book for $49.99, right? Stating
a bunch of irrelevant case law.
that means absolutely nothing. It means nothing. Now, but I want you to come in, but let me read the second question, but I want to make this other point. I posted up today on my wall the services that Murakush provide, and they sell these services. Let me see. The prices start at, what was it, $4.99 for their bronze package, $9.99 for their silver package, and $2,499 for their gold package. People, this is nothing but the same rehashed sovereign citizen selling you paperwork nonsense that has been going on for the longest. And this is what upset me about the debate that was just had some days ago, because the background information should have been done at least by Sharif Anna L. Bey. It should have at least been done by him so that he can call him on that. What if I paid you $2,500? How does my status change in the United States of America? Don't show me a filing from a judge. Give me an example. I can go to Prophet Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish Americans electing members into several different political offices and show the efficacy of us as a voting bloc, which we find with evangelical Christians today who are under the racial classification of white, period. Their status is no different than ours, other than the fact that they have generational wealth that they've passed on to and then that's not the case with every European American. It's just not. Some are dirt poor and live in trailer parks. It's just not the case. Now, what's their status in comparison to their people of their same ethnic group that are rich? Status just determines your standing in society. Poor is a status. Rich is a status. Middle class is a status. Black and white are not statuses. They're not statuses. So the second question, and I want you to jump in after that, is which countries, this is the questions we would have asked. Which countries have you traveled to without a visa from any country to which you claim that you're not a citizen of? Now, the reason why I framed that question is because Cheyenne claimed that he was not a citizen of any nation state. Nation state is just another word for country. Country is a nation that is defined by its geographical boundaries. In the country in which you live, you get a passport. I'm an American citizen. So when they make the claim about what would be on your passport, oh, USA would be on my passport. What else would be on my passport? What would be on the passport of an Italian American? What would be on the passport of a Nigerian American or a Liberian American? What would be on the passport of an Irish American? You see, this is common sense here.
Hey.
And you can talk that slick stuff to the people who do not know, but we know better and we know how to debunk you. And we pray that this video gets shared so that these frauds and that frauds like them, these are not pot shots. These are directs. And this is what I would have said if I was on the panel. You guys are frauds. Point, because you can't prove any of this stuff.
I have a couple of things. You made me think about a few things. The passport issue.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what's on the passports of Moroccan citizens or citizens of Mauritania. Is it Moor or is it Mauritanian? Is it Moroccan or is it Moor? Like, what's on their passports? Since these guys are struggling so hard to be defined as Moor, I wonder if the Moroccans, the actual members of the political nation Morocco, has more on their passports. So if it's on the members of Mauritania, is it more on their passports? That's one thing to think about. Then the other thing, when the brother mentioned that free is not a political status according to legal stat, free is not a legal status according to congressional records. My thing is, so if that's not a legal status, then why are you fighting to become a so-called free more? What is the free part about? If it's not even a legal status, is this a social thing? You just like the name, you just like the word free, it sound good?
Basically.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you going to court and going through processes and quote unquote legal processes and tactics and things to be considered a quote unquote free more, but then turn around and say that free is not a legal status according to what you fighting for it for? Then what, you just like the word? Like, what is going on? Like, I'm just saying it because, and I know that a lot of my stuff comes off as conversational, but to me, a lot of it doesn't necessarily rise to the level of having to be pulling up all of these cases to show how all of these guys continuously lose. Because you can go through all of their cases, because a lot of times they seem very happy about posting all of their losses and stuff, as if that's some kind of a great accomplishment. Look at how many times we went in court and lost. You know what I'm saying? But fight the power, continue.
I've never seen people celebrating losing the way that these guys do. It baffles me. It baffles me.
Remember the Supreme Court thing they was going hard about that time? It was on that thread, and they was cursing and carrying on the thread like they was losing their minds and whatnot, and then started talking about a Supreme Court. Oh, we're going to the Supreme Court, and none of y'all never did this, and we're going to Supreme Court. And I'm like, my thing to them was, good. I'm glad you're going to the Supreme Court. I can't wait to see the outcome.
That's right.
Please post it when it goes down so we can all share in whatever it is that you're going through. I want to see it. That was pretty much the end of that. That was it.
That's right. Wait, no, we pulled it up.
No, I know we pulled it up. But I'm saying
that's right.
I wanted them to come back with all of that same energy and that same fervor that they had on that thread. Come back with it with the same energy with this Supreme Court stuff that you doing. And they disappeared with that. That was the end of that. We ain't hear nothing else.
Nothing else. They lost, and I'm gonna get into one of their cases soon because I want to show the precedents that these guys set for all of you that are claiming treaties and all of that, but we're going to get into that in a few minutes. I want to try to run through some more of this stuff real quick. Okay, let me see. I really don't want to skip through anything. I want to really address. Okay, at the 46:18 mark, Cheyenne asks if Moorish American is a legal nationality, according to what nationality means. Okay. Let me go back real quick more. I want to read nationality because that was an important question, and Sharif he answered the question. He answered the question, but we're on this show now, and I want it because it's a little more clearer. There's no time constraints. You know, we don't have to be vague. We don't have to rush.
Can I just say something right?
Oh yeah, please.
Is Moorish American a nationality? I say absolutely, emphatically, yes, it is. It is a nationality. Not only is it a nationality, it is comprehensive in that it deals with both aspects and both senses in which the word nationality can be used.
That's right.
From an ethno sense to the political sense. The Moorish deals with the ethno sense. The American deals with the political sense. It's very simple. Now, that's all I wanted to say.
And really, I mean, I don't even have to read this because you basically gave the breakdown of what I was going to read. But just for the sake of the listening audience, let me read this. Nationality. Black's Law, 5th edition. That quality or character which arises from the fact of a person's belonging to a nation or state. State meaning country. Nationality determines the political status of the individual. Moorish Americans, voting as one voting bloc, understanding that we're Moorish Americans. And even those that do not know that they're Moorish Americans, when they go vote, their vote is still tallied into a certain demographic called the black vote or the African American vote. I mean, it's simple as that. Okay, nationality determined. Say that again, more.
And on top of that, these are bogus, fallacious arguments that are only being lodged against Moorish Americans that they would not lodge against English Americans or Italian Americans or Japanese. They're only being lodged against Moorish Americans specifically because they're just trying to undermine what Noble Drew Ali bought, because they're basically nothing but haters trying to pretend that they figured something out that nobody else has. It is a bunch of trash.
They just figured out a new way to scheme people. So let me finish reading. Nationality determines the political status of the individual, especially with a reference to allegiance. Our allegiance is to the United States of America. If we got a passport and went overseas, we can say we have allegiance to anybody, but our passports are going to say USA on them. It says, while domicile determines his civil status. You know, I live in the state of Georgia. You know, I mean, nationality arises either by birth or by naturalization. Now, this is the most important part. This is what the 14th Amendment was for. Prophet Noble Drew Ali was correct when he spoke about the 14th and 15th Amendments, bringing the North and South back into unit, who were at that time without power. And Cheyenne made a claim, that's later on in the notes. But matter of fact, it's not too far in those, but we're going to get to that. Now, if you're born here, you're a citizen, period. These guys want you to believe that if you're born here, you're not a citizen. Matter of fact, you were never citizens in the first place, that you're still not citizens. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, by you being born here, don't make you a citizen. Now, there's ways that we can break that down. If you don't participate, right, your rights as a citizen are limited. This is why the prophet said, I've traveled to the South and I have examined conditions there in the same article, talking about the 14th and 15th Amendment. He said, and it was the actions of my own people not living the life. And this brought Jim Crowism. Remember, he said, help me bring my people back into the constitutional folds of government. If you follow people like Murakush, they're going to take you further away from the folds of government. There was just a brother who was just locked up who cited that he used not only Murakush, but another guy that's being outed as a scam artist, Brother Polite's information as, you know, for his legal arguments. And then, you know, the court shot this stuff down. And we're going to get into that. Did you have anything else to add on to that, Brother Ali?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, just in terms of the brother in Baltimore who has a convenience store, his name is Clark Bay. Okay. Shout out to Clark Bay for the convenience store. Then we had the article of the brother who made who worked in housing in Brooklyn.
That's
and,
right.
Put together the Noble Drew Ali.
That's right. Plaza. Noble Drew Ali Plaza. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
He's done other stuff, but you know, this was also a temple member. Just wanted to say
that's right. That's right. Frederick Turner L. Grand Sheik of the Moorish Science Temple of America. He was actually going to court, you know, beating cases. Just gotta say, Frederick Turner L. and the Moorish Science Temple of America is the very reason why you see Cheyenne and El Amir in those court cases with those fezzes on their heads, because the Moors at that time challenged the courts.
That's
and
right. Let me just say,
we have the newspaper article, Fez no hat. It can be worn in court. Right. We have the newspaper articles that shows that we, as the Moorish Science Temple of America, has been recognized as an Islamic entity with two separate newspapers that states Mohammedan tots do not have to go to school on Fridays. I'm paraphrasing.
Right.
Like we got proofs of victories. The only thing that Murakush can show you all is a filing that says that some guy is going to be recognized as a Moor by some judge somewhere. Are you serious? Not any filings of themselves.
Right. But they never showed anything of theirs. They keep showing other stuff. But let me say this. Unlike, you know, how those guys like, you know, constantly showing how the, you know, courts calling them scofflaws. All of that kind of stuff. This is an article from 1973. This is long before those guys were even born. The brother's name, he was a minister in the MST of A. His name is Joseph Jeffries L. And this is an article from 1973 in the New York Times, where it says here, a 32-year-old minister with firm theories about community building has become a guiding force in the development of new housing in the Brownsville section of Brooklyn. All right, the minister, Joseph Jeffries L., is more than a theorist. He is the developer of an unusual new housing project. He has a moving company and a management company. He organizes a bingo operation that grossed $225,000 last year. He started educational, sports, and social activities for the young, and he founded a credit union branch. He says about himself, I am an organizer, says the minister, who prefers to be called Brother Joseph. Government officials and bankers who have dealt with him concur with this description. The crowning touch thus far in Brother Joseph's varied career and his sponsorship and management of Noble Drew Ali Plaza, a federally aided project now nearing completion that will provide homes for 385 low-income and moderate income families. Okay, so it goes on. It goes on. I mean, this is, and like I said, this is an article, a positive article written about this brother, a member of the MSCFA in 1973.
Scimitar.
Where the people, the New York Times and government officials and so forth are talking about, and bankers are talking about this brother in such high regard and esteem. So unlike those guys who constantly have to post how the courts are disrespecting them, even though they continue to fight with a court that they claim has no jurisdiction over them. You got New York Times articles dating back to 1973 talking about the positive influences that a member of the MSTFA had on the community. With, you know, and they talking about nobody in the MSTFA has ever done anything. Man, show and prove. What have you done?
What have you done? Like, listen, people, we're reading these articles. There was the Moorish Science Temple of America has always been
I'm gonna put
involved.
the article in the thing if you can share. I don't know if you can share it, but I'm gonna put the link to the article on the side, so if people don't believe it's real, they can see it for themselves.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll be able. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to probably share it. But what they can do is they can hit me up, or they can hit Ali Bey up. After this is over, we'll provide the links to this information. Going back to the 1930s, 1940s, again, Frederick Turner L received some of the, if not the very first HUD grants. So in our lessons, when they say, and he found Jesus building dwellings for the sons of man, like we got a history as a movement, as an organization. And I want to be clear. I want to be clear. The current version of the Moorish Science Temple of America, I am not a member of. I do follow Prophet Noble Drew Ali and his teachings to a T, 100%. I'm not a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America anymore. We're starting the Moorish Science Society for purposes that I will not get into here, but I've touched on in the past. But Prophet Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish Science Temple of America is etched in my blood. And if people are coming at the Prophet, I'm going to defend the Prophet, point blank, period, because he and the movement is one. I do consider the Moorish Science Society as an arm, however, of the Moorish Divine and National Movement started by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So I want to clarify my own personal position. With that said, oh, sure, brother.
Why would someone pray to or petition to a court of no jurisdiction for anything?
Yeah, I don't understand it. This is how you justify the people that are still citizens, right? By saying, well, they're still citizens, so they have to do this process or they have to do that process. You heard Elamir give this bogus breakdown of expatriation. No, expatriation deals with leaving the country you are a member of, exiling yourself. And like the brother said on the post earlier, it was one of the worst mistakes he's ever made. He said United States citizenship is like God in other countries. And that's a fact. This is the most powerful nation on the planet. Prophet Noble Drew Ali explained to us that we are a part and parcel of this said government. We knew Moors in this day and time, even those of us that have left the Moorish Science Temple of America or were never members, like my brother Ali Bey, have come in and showed and proved. I mean, to me, brother Ali Bey is a proxy member of what Prophet Noble Drew Ali established, not these groups of haters that we see splattered about, which all they know is hate. That's why the brother did the show the same time that we're doing the show, because he thinks that he's going to block out the information as if my channel is not more popular than his, has more than double the subscribers than his. And it just, like, even in defense of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, it doesn't matter. Haters are going to hate. So let's get into some of this stuff. One of the things, Shai, we already touched on this, but I'm going to run through it real quick. Cheyenne said that the MSTA doesn't provide what's needed insofar as contractually, politically, religious, etc. That's a lot. These guys profess Islam. They'll curse you out in a heartbeat. They said that the MSTA doesn't correct status. Again, we've already debunked that status claim. That status claim is just absolutely bogus. Status determines your position in society. Black is not a status. African American is not a status. If it is, ask these guys to provide you with the documentation based on modern decrees. Don't go back into the 1841 Negro law of South Carolina, which was only confined to South Carolina because during that time, there were many states in the North where slavery was abolished. So, and this is another trick that sovereign citizen Moors try to pull. They try to make it seem as if the slavery issue was universal, particularly during the Reconstruction period. And this is where they base this is why they're always bringing up the 14th Amendment. But this wasn't the case. When at the passage of the 13th Amendment, it affected the people in the South. because this is where states, in using their power of I guess you can call it dependent or independent, dependent or autonomy, if you will, state sovereignty, they chose that human beings can be bonded as slaves. But the federal government showed and proved that it had the power to overrule the states.
Because slavery, in essence, was unconstitutional. There was no law of the United States that actually supported the institution of chattel slavery. I'm not talking about incarceration the way it is being described by the 13th Amendment as punishment for a crime, but I'm talking about chattel slavery, where individual private citizens can own other human beings. There's no law, there is no constitutional principle.
Right.
It flies in the face of constitutional principle, particularly the one that says that all men were created free and equal. It flies in the face of the very founding principles of this country. So they had to abolish it. And there was even a debate in Congress as to whether or not, in the preamble of the Constitution, whether they were going to use the term "we the white people of America," or whether or not they were going to leave that out. And they had a serious debate in Congress about whether or not to use the term white. And it had everything to do with this exact same thing, that it flies in the face of humanity. It flies in the face of the actual principles, because the principles themselves didn't even say all white men are created free and equal. So they're like, no, we're not going to put that in there. This is about human beings and the humanity of man. It has nothing to do with white supremacy and so forth. So this was an actual debate that they had, and they wound up the Confederate mindset ones, they lost that debate. And we have the preamble the way it is today, we the people. And at the time, like I said, when they adopted this Constitution, they adopted it by way of citizens' conventions. It was groups of citizens who got together and formed their own conventions and decided on whether or not to adopt the Constitution as a unifying document. And part of those citizens were so-called Negroes.
That's right. And that did not know themselves as either Moor,
black,
or Moorish Americans. Period.
Right.
Period. So the claim, now remember, this is like leading right up to the next point. The brother Cheyenne was claiming that the rights of Negroes were bound by Old English common law, and that
crap.
Let me see. He says
that's complete nonsense.
He says that
that's nonsense, man.
No, he made it up. He says its basis was rooted in old archaic law, like that Negro law, South Carolina, and he claimed. Let me see. Hold on. He claimed that the Sultan of Morocco was the ruler of West Africa, and that all of the people our people were subject according to England common law. See, what he failed to understand is that the first abolition movement was in England. It was happening overseas in Europe, and it got over here into the United States of America. You got to remember, the Northerners had a more colonial mindset than the Southerners did. It is claimed that the Southerners were the people that came over on the ships that were basically bandits, but they were still ruled by a bourgeoisie class. I mean, we could get into all of that. Brother Ware L and Brother Grimmy Arnell does an excellent job in breaking down that area of that period, but I mean,
the fact of the matter is this: when it comes to the rights of any citizen of the United States, those are protected by the Constitution. Those are protected by the Constitution, not by any common law of England.
That's right.
Okay,
That's
the
right.
United States declared its independence. The United States is acknowledged as an independent, autonomous, sovereign body by every other nation on this planet. So, no, the rights of the citizens don't come from some old common law, some old, like, what kind of nonsense is that? This is an independent, sovereign nation.
Well, that's and this is why this show was so necessary tonight for us to break down. Okay, we almost finished getting through. I took some notes. I looked it up. The federal courts stopped using common law as a determinative. The cases in 1938. And my battles out down here in Athens, Georgia, the judge me and the judge were having a vow. And one of the things she said, I was just talking about this the other day because I was going under the name Nebu Abaray El Bey. Mm-hmm. She said, Mr. Bey, why don't you just go to law school? You'll be pretty good at this. A sister, older sister. That's what she told me. And, you know, I had that sovereign citizen mindset. But now I'm pursuing, I might as well put it out there, a paralegal, because I want to take the steps to become a paralegal, work in that field, become a politician. Just like the path to power. Don't fight the power, be the power. Be the power is a thing that I started using about 2, maybe even 3 years ago. You know, some other guys, they claim it. I really don't care. But it would have been better if we was using it, working together we never even had to interact with each other, but it is what it is. That's why I'm not a member of the current Moorish Science Temple of America. Now, she said this, you know, where are you drawing this from, Mr. Bey? I said, I'm drawing this from the common law because she cut me, oh, please. She said, common law is nothing but old, archaic case law. And we got into a volley about that. When I went home, I went and I started looking this stuff up. I'm not the obstinate type. You know, everybody gets obstinate to a degree based on what they're into. But as I started to grow, I went and I looked this stuff up, and she was right. Mm-hmm. She was right. And I urge everybody to look up, you know, what common law is and how it is or was used in the United States of America. Now, okay, let me see. He claims, and this is the last point of the notes I took. Cheyenne claimed that, it's not the last. Hold on. I got 3 more points. He claimed that when the 13th Amendment was passed, listen to this, people, because this is important. To understand the psychology of a confidence man, somebody that will make up something off the top of their dome, force themselves to believe it, and then push it to you so that you can believe it in the same way that they believe it. Thus, bringing on a case of cognitive dissonance. Why are you promoting anti-citizenship by claiming that you're a citizen, Cheyenne? Stop lying. But then claiming that you have members of your entity who are still citizens. Like this is a clear case of cognitive dissonance. But here's a clear case of what we would call freestyling, just making stuff up off the top of the head. He claims that when the 13th Amendment was passed, it deprived states of their police powers. And this is the reason why they passed the 14th Amendment and allowed us to be here and not be citizens. So, and I want you to chop this one up more. He says, I want to reiterate that when the 13th Amendment was passed, this was the federal amendment, something that's etched into the Constitution of these United States of America. It deprives states of their police powers. This is completely false. What this guy basically was saying was that it deprives slave catchers of their power. But
see, now that's if you don't understand. That's if you don't understand the purpose. If you don't understand the purpose of police powers. Police powers, the purpose of police power is to regulate for the purposes of health, safety, basically the general welfare of the citizenry. Having slaves or chattel, the institution of chattel slavery, is not for the betterment or promoting the general welfare of the citizenry.
That's
That's
right.
just something that these European Christians thought was their God-given right based on their bogus understanding of the Bible. Well, their bogus interpretation of the Bible. They felt like it was their God-given right to enslave these descendants of Canaan. You know, so that had nothing to do with the police power, the political aspect of what's going on here, which is utilizing police power for the purpose of promoting the general welfare. The purpose is what you have to look at, not just saying, oh, the federal government, that, because what he's really making is a Confederate argument.
That's right.
It's a Confederate argument by saying, hey, you infringed on our property rights, and you infringed on our police powers to have slave catchers and to have chattel slavery. Like, I'm not sympathetic to the plight of the Confederates. I don't know why these guys don't even understand that a lot of the arguments that they're making are actually Confederate-based arguments.
That's right. And well, the reason is because most people don't know. Most people do not know that the arguments that these guys, and this is something that we've exposed on so many shows, me, you, Grimmy Yarnell, where we've exposed this. And y'all know my term, but I say y'all are espousing the sovereign citizen ideology of Euro-Christian right-wing spawns of the Southern Confederacy groups. And that's exactly what they're doing. So that claim that the 13th Amendment deprived the states of their police power is false, because the 13th Amendment solely affected the states where our people were still being forced to do free labor, i.e. slave work. So like this claim is crazy. And then he says that this is the reason why they passed the 14th Amendment, which allowed us to be here but not be citizens. Now, this is wait. I want you to go in, but this is oxymoronic, because these are the same guys that will make the claim that we are somehow 14th Amendment citizens. They've done so in the past. They've done it. I still got some of that Murakush paperwork in my cloud on my OneDrive somewhere. Like, these guys are, it's cognitive dissonance at its finest. You are in conflict with the very thing that you believe and promote.
Yo, bro, that's crazy. That's insanity. You're going to sit around telling somebody that they are 14th Amendment citizens, but at the same time, you're going to tell them they don't have a nationality when all citizens have nationalities, but they all carry the nationality of the United States. And at the same time, you're talking about the 14th Amendment allowed people to be here and not be citizens when the language specifically says all persons born or naturalized are citizens of the United States. Like, what kind of foolish? This is what I'm saying. This is why it doesn't even, like, to be debating those guys with real info. You don't even really have to do it. All you got to do is take apart just pick at the illogic of it all.
That's right. That's right.
Pick at it's so illogical. Like, in other words, for people who don't have the time to sit and pick through all of these claims, because they throw so much stuff at you at one, and so if you don't really have the time or the interest, you're not going to do it. And you might even think, oh wow, these guys are deep, man. What they're saying is deep. But the fact of the matter is, the 14th Amendment speaks very specifically, and let me just say this: the 14th Amendment is not ethnic or race specific. There's nothing in the language that says black people, people are citizens, or black people can be here and not be citizens. There's nothing that says it. It says all persons. It's very specific in the language when it says all persons born or naturalized. And what that is is nothing but a reiteration of the fact of the matter that existed before the Dred Scott case came and muddied the issue of citizenship.
That's right.
It's just a reiteration of it coming behind this fight that they just had with the southern states. They wanted to make it clear, we're gonna make you bow down to the fact that these principles that were in the founding principles and the common practices of the United States, those being the principles of just sanguinis and just soli.
That's right.
This is what it's really doing, is making the southern states, in order to be readmitted to representation in Congress, you are going to have to reconcile these facts. And that's what they did. You're talking about these people just came out of a war, a bloody war where people were being murdered. So they made them people. That's what the purpose was. You want to be readmitted back into the Union, back into representation in Congress, you're going to ratify these amendments. That's what the Reconstruction Amendments were for. It wasn't for this nonsense about, oh, it allows black people to be here and not be citizens at the same time. All you got to do is read it and see that it's not what it's saying. This is not what it's saying. On top of the fact that one of the reasons that the Europeans don't like the 14th Amendment is because it did cut off some of their political power when it says that those people who were part of the rebellion lost some of their political power. And you can read further into the 14th Amendment and see that males actually had their political power cut off.
That's right.
By the 14th
That's right.
Amendment.
That's right. People, it's so crazy when you get deep into the history of the 14th Amendment and you see how restrictive it was for those Southerners. Remember, the prophet said that let me read something real quick. Real quick. Let me see if I can pull this up. Because I just got so much stuff pulled up, man. I wanted to read the case because Murakush claims that they provide remedies. But I got court cases with brothers that's locked up claiming that they received bad information. This brother named Damian Wilson.
Damien, yes.
That's right. Mustafa El Bey is or somebody like that, right? But I don't need to read it. Long story short, the brother came from Virginia all the way to New York, paid Cheyenne, I believe it's been a minute, like $1,000 to do this whole nationality process, this whole dissolution and liquidation process. Went back to court making these arguments, right? The judge said I was going to give you 5 or 6 years for the illegal marijuana and illegal guns you got caught with. But now I'm going to give you the maximum allowed by law because you came in my court with these frivolous arguments and gave him 11 years. This guy had to hire a lawyer. This is in the historic. Hit me up. I can provide you the case.
This is actual fact. Ain't no pop shot. It's an actual fact.
No pop shot. This is an actual fact. This is historical facts. We speaking. These are not. It's not. And this is not in a personal attack. The only thing personal I have to say is these guys are frauds because they're jerking people out their money. That's a personal attack, right?
And let me say something about the people being jerked out of their money. They oftentimes deserve it. They oftentimes are looking to be jerked because a lot of these people carry with them this mentality of lie to me, make it sound fly to me.
Oh man, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. Let me see. Okay, cool. Let me read this. This is coming from the pbs.org website and it's dealing with the 14th Amendment. It says this. The Republicans then passed the Reconstruction Act of 1867. It's giving you a breakdown, but we're pressed for time here, so I'm just going to skip through all of that, which set the conditions the Southern states had to accept before they could be readmitted to the Union, including ratification of the 14th Amendment. This is why the prophet said the 14th and 15th Amendment was not necessary for the salvation of our people. This is why he said all citizens. But it was only administered to bring the people back into the union.
Hey,
and it stood as a
look at how heavy that is that you're saying. What he's saying is those people in the Confederacy were not actual citizens of the United States because they were in rebellion. They, according to their own words, have relinquished their citizenship and established a whole different country. So by the prophet saying that it was not necessary for our salvation or the other citizens, the actual citizens of the United States, it wasn't. That was
peeling the layers
into the union by those people who were rebels and treason, had committed acts of treason against the United States and had given up their rights as citizens. That's who it was for. You want to be readmitted back into representation in Congress, you're going to get on your knees and you're going to ratify these things, and you're going to ensure that you provide a Republican form of government that's really going to be representative of all of the citizenry within that state territory, not just no white males, but all of the citizenry. And they didn't completely do that because they still did leave out European women and Asiatic women, but it was a step towards a true republic, providing a true republic.
That's right. Oh man, that was an excellent breakdown, peeling back the layers. New Moors coming in, eyes wide open, seeing and knowing. And you know, we just got our position to play as Moorish Americans. We recognize ourselves as such. We recognize ourselves as Moors. We're just not going to get into the con game of the sovereign citizen Moors. And that's what they deserve to be called. And we're not going to get into the schism of the Moorish Science Temple of America. We believe that our talent is best suited elsewhere. I mean, you know, brother, and I hope I could speak on this, brother Ali Bey. You know, my brother Ali Bey, my brother Grimion LA falling back from the movement as well. But I can still lean on these brothers for information. You know, I can still lean on these brothers to learn so that I can continue to teach. Y'all hear my brother going in. There's Cheyenne, Elamir, they couldn't touch neither one of us if it was two of them on one of us. They couldn't touch neither one of us at all. And what you said was so vital. And so far as the southern states renouncing their citizenship, this is the same tactic that's being employed by these sovereign citizen Moors. And this is what Cheyenne and them is trying to get people to do. Fuck, if you're not careful, your own brother will put you right back into slavery. And the only form of slavery we have now is mental slavery, unless you get locked up and you have involuntary servitude, which is still a form of slavery. Now, these are the last couple of points.
This real quick disclaimer. I don't care how they're advocating for foreign national. I'm going to repeat this. Foreign national is a status with disabilities. It is a status with disabilities. It is not footing as a citizen. Foreign national is a status with disabilities. Period, point blank. You can go ahead and read what you're going to read, bro.
Oh, definitely. He claimed that the Murakush group uses an adjustment in his book that he kept promoting, which we know is bogus. We know that it's bogus because we know him and we know his tactics and his schemes. He claims that the Murakush group uses in that book an adjustment of status form issued by the Department of State. He claimed that it changes your status from non-citizen to permanent alien. So, you know, we had to go look that up. You already know how we do it. We're going to go look these things up. Now, we went and we looked up, let me see. It's so bad I can't do the screen share right now, but we looked up what this form is about. We went to the travel.state.gov because they are responsible for laying out the guidelines of this particular document that he's speaking about from the Department of State, the adjustment of status in the United States. It states, when the diversity visa selectee is already in the United States. How do I find out if I can adjust status if I am in the United States? Answer: to determine whether or not you may adjust the status to obtain permanent residence through the diversity immigrant program while physically present in the United States. Learn more on the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIC website. The option to adjust status in the United States may not be available to all applicants. Now, this stems from a diversity immigrant program. And we know what is an immigrant. An immigrant is a person that comes into the country, from another political jurisdiction into this political jurisdiction, that is the United States of America. So I looked up the diversity immigrant program. Let me see. This was for diversity. It's basically for diversity immigrant visas, and it gives you a whole breakdown, AKA that claim that he made was bogus. It's just absolutely bogus. Let me say this. There was a form that we thought could get rid of your social security number. And I learned about this because we used to be in all of those talk shoe groups. We used to be picking up all of this stuff from all of these guys, Tim Turner, and I can't even remember the rest of these guys. One pastor guy, this is a bunch of nonsense where guys are using the WAEBIN, whatever that's called. They got this from this pastor guy.
Oh yeah. I got that pulled up right now because this one dude had been posting it because I guess he felt like, the Murakush guys had really stuck it to these cats, you know what I'm saying? So he started, he was one of them little puppy dogs that's, following around these guys. And so in other words, he posted up the W8BEN certificate of foreign status of beneficial owner for United States tax withholding and reporting for individuals. So this is dealing with some kind of a tax liability for some foreign status. It says this is do not use this form if you are not an individual, you are a U.S. citizen or U.S. person, you are a beneficiary. So this is for someone who's a foreigner and has some kind of claim of tax treaty benefits. So my question again, when you start talking about treaties and stuff, I want to know what nation, what sovereign power that's a party to some treaty are you a citizen of that affords you some type of protection under that treaty? But that's rhetorical. You can go ahead and finish what you were saying.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I'm glad you made that point because there's so many layers to this thing. Now, I brought this to the attention of Cheyenne. We were the Aboriginal Law Institute, and then we went into the Murakush Imperial Temple of Amexem. I believe that's what the name was, and we're going to get into that in the court case. Now, I did more research into it because I tried to utilize it, and I seen that it didn't relinquish the social security number, and me and him had a little debate about it. And I went, and it was based on the fact that I had a debate with somebody else about it, and I got cleaned up on the issue, and I had to concede. I had to concede to the fact. Now, I went and I brought it back to this brother's attention. And once I showed him that it was for not relinquishing your social security number, but your social security benefits, I can't remember the name of this particular form, he said, okay. And he stopped promoting it. After the fallout, he put it back in his sovereignty package because now it's like, okay, well, we're going to they call me Neb. We're going to diss Neb so much, nobody's going to listen to him. Everybody want to hear this controversial stuff that we're making up lies about this guy. So we're going to push our packages now. This is the same thing with adding this form from the Department of State that he claims adjusts your status. So these guys are always trying to find new wrinkles to jerk people, and they sit there, as our Moorish Quran says, and they huggeth themselves in their cunning.
But what is the form that's adjusting some stat? What status are they trying to adjust, and which form is it he was talking about?
I don't know more. I pulled it up. I pulled up the background of the form. I didn't even pull up the form. I just wanted to pull up the information on what the form was about, and that's what I was reading, and I just laughed.
Did he say what status that it's supposed to adjust? Did he say which?
No, because that's the thing. What stat? If the first and foremost, it's for immigrants. It's for immigrants, not for. It's not for citizens of the United States of America to adjust their status. But he said it so slickly in a way while holding up his book on page such and such. You see that we got the status adjustment form. So to the lay person that's really not feeling the MST event, and a lot of people are not, and it's understandable. They hear that and they say, "Ooh, that sounds dope. This guy got a status adjustment, and he's not a citizen of any nation. He's stateless. I want to be that." So that probably sounded good to that individual, which is why he had to promote individualism. Now, this is the last point, and then I want to read the case, and we could give a synopsis, and then basically end this thing. But he claimed this. He claimed that the nationality card of the Moorish Science Temple of America doesn't declare us Moors. And here is my nationality card. The children wrote all over it, which is why the Moorish Science Temple of America has to update its nationality card, because this is a model from 1926 as a paper card, which is what the United States of America was doing, and they don't do that anymore. They have these plastic cards now that your child can't even scribble all over, and they're authentic because they use certain authentication processes. But anyway, that's neither here nor there at the moment. I want to read the nationality card of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And before we end, let's hop on the death certificate thing real quick. So let me read this real quick. It says this. Brother Deshaun Wayne, my name is on here. The date is May 6, 2008. Oh, I got this from Haru Reniciel in Temple 19. It's just so funny for those of you who know the background and how these guys tried to just snake me, which is another reason why I'm no longer a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America. It says this. This is your nationality and identification for the Moorish Science Temple of America. Basically saying it's a corporate ID. And birthrights for the Moorish Americans, etc. It's a reminder that you are American citizens. And birthrights come through, you're belonging to a nation. It's not, somebody said on one of my threads earlier, people selling their birthrights. I said, define birthrights. He couldn't, because they don't know what birthrights mean.
Real quick. From my estimation, the birthright being discussed on that nationality card is birthright citizenship. The rights is you talk on just soli and just sanguinis.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, it says, let me start over. This is your nationality and identification for the Moorish Science Temple of America and birthrights for the Moorish Americans. It says it on the nationality card. The brother said Moors not even on the nationality card. So are you saying that Moorish is separate from the word Moor? Because Ish means belonging to a nation. In the definition, Ish, according to the etymology of the word, is an adjectival suffix. And an adjectival suffix is basically an adjective that qualifies a noun. So if I'm saying that I'm Moorish, it means that I belong to a nation or a state. And it gives you an example. Finnish, Amish, English, Irish, etc.
They understand that, bro. They understand it. It's a fake argument. It's just playing. They're only playing.
Now, peep this. It says, we honor all the divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. May the blessings of the God, our Father Allah, be upon you that carry this card. I do by excuse me, I do hereby declare that you are a Muslim under the divine laws of the Holy Quran of Mecca, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. The card declares you a Muslim. Prophet Noble Drew Ali already let it be known that we were Moorish Americans, and we demonstrated as such. Said you, why are we Moorish Americans? Because we are descendants of Moroccans and born in America. Now this kind of segues into the black on the death certificate. Murakush harps on this claim that Noble Drew Ali died with black on his death certificate. Let me put that to the side. Let me make this point. Our 101s still state that claims that Moroccans, I shouldn't have said still, is the modern name for Moabites, not Morocco. In the research that I have done, I just released a paper, March 23rd, academia.edu, doing more, showing and proving that Prophet Noble Drew Ali is 100%, if you want to say was past tense, or wise, right, and exact. The paper is called Moors, Moabites, and Berbers. Are these names and people historically synonymous? Analyzing the historical, biblical, and archaeological records. And it's receiving very high praise. And it's one of the most top read and viewed papers on academia.edu right now, landing me in the top 1% of research papers. People are just searching, period, to see what else I've got. And I have another paper on there as well called Was Noble Drew Ali Allah's Last Prophet for These Days and Times, or something like that. I can't remember the title. Now, Moroccan is a recent name. The French called it Maroc from the Arabic version of Marab, which they rendered for whatever reason as my AC got me going through some things, right? But for whatever reason, they changed Marab, which is in the records of the original name of Morocco. These are in the Christian records. Those that follow my works have seen me cite it. Marab, and the people of this particular jurisdiction were called Marabites or Morabites, i.e. Moabites. And these names are all interchangeable in the records. Moab, Morab, Mardab, the Moabites, Al-Morav, Id. Id is like Ish, just means belonging to a people. That's all it means. It's a later, more English, if you will, derivation of Al-Moravid. Now, the Moabites. So that claim that we're descendants of Moroccans, let me make this point. Born in America, and that Prophet Noble Drew Ali never changed or corrected the status, which was, Prophet Noble Drew Ali taught us this, that nobody can change the descent nature of man. Number one, we are who we say that we are. There are people that wholly believe that they're black. They'll tell you, my skin is black. I don't know what you're talking about. They believe that. But at the end of the day, somebody gave us that designation. Moor is ancient, which Murakush knows because they've done the research and they've seen, even though they falsely claim that Moor comes from the term Westerner, which I've scholastically chopped down. I've also cited, and it's in my notes, ethnologists that showed and proved that Moor doesn't come from the word Westerner. Anyway, this leads us into the black issue on the death certificate, because their sticking point, and this was their only sticking point, that they wouldn't let their opponents weasel out of, while their opponents let them weasel out of the citizen question, was that Noble Drew Ali's birth certificate, death certificate, I keep saying birth certificate, death certificate showed that he was a black man and that he died with black on his death certificate. And he taught that we weren't black, we were Moor. So what they were saying was that this was hypocritical. Number one, and I want you to come in after this, Ali. Number one, Aaron Payne L. Well, wait, was that Aaron Payne L or his brother? I think it was Thomas Payne L, because these were members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. They tried to say, well, we didn't see L on their name. I didn't see L on the names of Brandon Casimir or Cornell Dixon when y'all dudes got locked up, and I seen y'all's court cases, which means if y'all, one of y'all die right now, if y'all didn't change y'all name through the court, that's what's going to be on your death certificate. Black, American black. So stop fronting, stop lying to the people. But the point is, and I'll legally change my name. My name is now Naheem Wayel. So if I was to meet an unfortunate demise, that would be on my death certificate. It's just, it is what it is. Now, through the courts, not filing no crazy paperwork, change your name status, whatever. Now, we, as a political unit, all of us, have, in order to change or add the classification of Moor into some already established racial classification, challenging the racial classification system itself, or having a separate entity, or entry in the racial classification itself. All we got to do is band together and do that. Murakush doesn't have the power to do that. I don't care what bill they draft up. It is ineffective because you claim that you're not a member of the political jurisdiction that is the United States of America, period. So you can't draft up something that you think is going to affect the people here, all for the purposes of self, what's the word I'm looking for? Is it aggrandizement? I believe that's the word I'm looking for. Self-aggrandizement. These guys are egomaniacal. They get confident when they hear themselves speak and they feel that they're not being properly challenged. And I sit there and listen to them because I know the psychological profile of these brothers, and their arguments were not only fatally flawed, they were absolutely wrong. Every point that they brought up was wrong. And we showed that tonight. We showed it. But go ahead, Moore. Please give your take on that. We're going to get into this court case, and then we can just kind of close it out after that.
This is about the death certificate. Is that what
being black? Yeah.
Yeah, being black is like we said, it's a social classification. It's not a legal status. On top of the fact that we know, just like you said, that these labels can be changed and manipulated by way of political and civic engagement. You know, for instance, President Obama signed a bill removing Oriental and Negro from federal law. There's just the terminology.
That's right.
You know, they use the terminology Oriental and Negro. These are antiquated terminologies as far as society is concerned at this point in time. And so Representative Grace Ming, a Democrat from New York, sponsored a bill which aimed to quote unquote modernize two references, which was Oriental and Negro, which was in the United States Code that date back to 1970s. But there was and the reason that happened is because there was time periods where certain terminology was considered acceptable. And so now the words will be replaced with Asian American and African American. Okay. Now, so the point is nobody is stuck with any kind of racial classification. On top of the fact that the census and how the census is being used by our people is really what's dictating what's coming, what in terms of these racial classifications. How we're self-identifying on the census documents is what's really dictating what shows up as a racial classification. So for instance, the Office of Management and Budget, and a lot of this stuff can be manipulated by the citizens through civic participation.
That's right.
I was looking at an article a piece from the Federal Register where it was talking about the issue of reviewing the racial classifications of Federal Directive 15. And what it was saying is that when they put these notices out every 20 years, when the federal directive comes up for review in the classifications and how this data is collected in terms of ethnic statistics or racial statistics or whatever in reporting, it comes up for review every 20 years. And what they do when they put out the notices that it's coming up for review is they suggest that the public comment on these things. For instance, it's a paragraph in this article I got pulled up from the office of the Federal Register right now where it says the issues for comment. It says with that they issued pertaining to the review of this, OMB is seeking comments from the public. Number one, adequacy of the current standard in the areas identified for focus review. Number two, specific suggestions for the which one of the identified the racial classifications that are being used. They collect their data. So the point of it is there are congressional hearings on this stuff. Public commentary is sought, as well as research on ethnic data, racial data, and all kinds of things like that. All of this stuff goes into, as well as how our people utilize this, the names in terms of self-identification, goes into how we are being viewed in this country. Okay, it says ability and unwillingness to self-identify. The inability or unwillingness to self-identify as it pertains to identifying yourself. And when you don't do it the right way, they set the standards for it. Okay, and so if the majority of the people are identifying themselves as Black, then that's what's going to show up. So if you are opportunity among yourselves to give the commentary that's needed in order to affect change when the revision come up for directive. If you don't attend the congressional hearing, if you don't give the comment for the commentary, if you can't,
you're breaking up a little bit, brother.
Yeah, how about now?
Yeah.
In other words, if we can't get together as a group and decide on a name that is going to go in the census, then the ones that are there is going to stick. Black is going to stick.
And this is why
American will stick.
This is why I enter into debate. Like, we got all of these pseudo people that's out there teaching right now. They're just leading people further off the path of what we need to be doing as a people. Then when people get interested in the Moorish movement, they're already blindsided by European atheism that they will attach themselves to certain sovereign citizen ideals. Then they'll run into a group like Murakush, who will charge them $2,499 for their gold package. Like, this is just,
you know what?
Crazy. Yeah, you still breaking up a little bit more.
Jeez, man, this is bad. How about now?
Well, clear now. You clear now.
The thing that they're doing is they're looking at, you know how you go to court and you have a legal name change? They're looking at this as if the name of the group has to be the classification has to be legally changed. And all this is through social effort. Social efforts. You don't need to go to court and make some kind of a legal claim to some court about changing a racial classification, ethnic designation. You don't need to do that. The only thing you need to do is get together enough people in your group to decide that this is who we are, and we are who we say we are. didn't go to court they didn't go to court to say, you know what, I'm going to all of a sudden be classified as a white person. You know what I'm saying? So that's not how that happened.
No other, let me say, no other people come over here or that are born here is trying to go through this process. And these people make the claim that Moors can't be citizens. Not only is this wrong, it's anti-Islamic. Because you got Muslims who are citizens of countries all over the world. A Muslim can become the president of these United States of America. And that's just a fact. So the stuff that these guys are talking, like I said earlier, is the antithesis to Islam. Let me get into this case real quick. Let's get into this case real quick. Because this is the clincher right here. I want everybody to take notice. This is the United States District Court for the District of New Jersey, Murakush Caliphate of Amexem, Incorporated, doing business as Murakush Imperial Temple of Amexem. You know, they changed the name up because they keep losing. So they got to keep changing the name, thinking that it's going to make some difference when they file the next set of paperwork. And what I just said is also important. Now, this is versus the state of New Jersey et al. As the defendants, civil action number 11-1317, RBK in parentheses, opinion. I don't know what the RBK stands for. Okay, let's read from a little bit from this. Okay, it says, the history of the estate case. Murakush Society cases and other district cases detailed in the Murakush opinion, as well as the contents of submissions made in the instant matter, Caliphate, Virginia Action, Delaware Action 3, indicate that this court faces an apparent challenge in tailoring appropriate orders of preclusion against MK, KS, KC, Bay, L, their actual and imaginary judicial entities and their associates, hereinafter, collectively, the quote-unquote Murakush group. This challenge ensues from these individuals' practice of A, proliferating existing and illusory judicial entities at the speed far exceeding any court's ability to process submissions received. This is one of the things that Elamir used to say. I'm just going to keep filing and filing and filing and flooding the courts, as if that's going to be right. If it was right, you would only need one document. Just one. If it was right. B, fashioning flocks. Let me start over. Fashioning flocks of names for their mushrooming creations. Remember, during the debate, Ish brought up the Amexem thing and how they said Amexem was mythology. It's not mythology. We just haven't found it yet. We thought our people descending from Canaan and Moab was also mythology, biblical mythology, but we knew Moors have come on the scene and shown and proved that this is a historical fact. And in time, we will find the Amexem piece, just like we showed and proved that we are the ancient Moabites descended from the ancient land of Canaan. But anyway, they said, no, we changed our name to the Murakush, whatever of America, which is interesting. Anyway, let me start over. Fashioning flocks of names for their mushrooming creations, Aboriginal Law Institute, the Intercontinental Aboriginal Union. I think that was the name of it. Consortium. It was thrown in there somewhere. The Murakush Imperial Temple of Amexem, the Murakush Caliphates of America, like all of these mushrooming creations. It says, with some of these names sounding alike, e.g., Murakush, Marakush, Murakush, and I know I used to work on these documents with them, so I know exactly what the court is talking about. Says, see docket entry number 1, and Murakush opinion, providing examples and other sounding entirely different / unrelated EV and quote unquote Imperial Temple, quote unquote Intercontinental Union, quote unquote Moorish Al-Maracanos Corporation, quote unquote Timbuktu Territory, quote unquote Samal Sharik region, quote unquote indigenous land, quote unquote Aboriginal law firm. They went through this group's whole history to show that these guys are frauds, and they just keep making this stuff up as they go along, thinking with each new iteration that is the judge and the courts are going to somehow change their opinions, and they're not. These guys, I mean, it's clear, and we're going to prove that in reading the same case. I want everybody to pay attention to this. This is important. It says, moreover, since members of the Murakush group keep insisting that they are not United States citizens, the Article 6, speaking about the Constitution of the United States of America, has another reason not to have any relevance to them. Analogously, Articles 20 and 21 of the treaty are facially inapplicable to the Murakush group, since they had no rights to consular assistance and no United States citizens killed or wounded them in the Mediterranean. They were arrested, searched, detained, criminally prosecuted, bailed, etc., well within the borders of the United States, and in any event, equal justice was already available to them under the safeguards of the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause, something that they reject. They didn't want these safeguards. They wanted safeguards of maritime jurisdiction, which goes back to sovereignty. The sovereign citizens, the European sovereign citizen groups, claim that we live in maritime and admiralty jurisdiction. This is just absolutely and completely false, frivolous, and erroneous for anybody to keep pushing and citing. What the Murakush group is doing is they're not necessarily using this terminology, but they're using aspects of this terminology by stating that these treaties are somehow applicable to their situation, which was they got caught with cocaine, marijuana, and fake IDs, and they were charged with that, which is why the court says that they were arrested, searched, detained, criminally prosecuted, bailed, etc., well within the borders of the United States. Hold on, my little I had to make a makeshift little stand because the babies was downstairs, so I couldn't use my little office area. So
right, but no, but that's exactly what happened, man. You
yeah, somebody. My brother just hit me up, brother Joshua L. He says Islam on his YouTube stream cracking up, y'all going in hard, because that's just what we do, and the people know this is what we do. They knew that we was going to bring it. They knew it. Okay, now look. Okay, it gives you a bunch of United States codes. I'm gonna skip. I'm gonna skip through that. But, well, I'm going to say, well, look, it says, see United States versus Casey, 2005, U.S. District Lexus 39785, EDMO, July 21st, 2005. The decision to criminally prosecute a self-declared, quote-unquote, Moor is constitutionally independent of any consular interest in assistance. Then it cites a bunch of other cases. Now it states, and this is the interesting part, it says, moreover, since members of the Murakush group keep insisting that they are not United States citizens, Articles 20 cannot possibly have no relevance to them, since the article focuses solely on interactions Hear this, y'all. Please.
Mm-hmm.
Focuses solely on interactions between United States citizens. You heard the brother Shyam make the claim that he's not a citizen of any place. It's one strike against you, and that would be one strike against Elamir, because Elamir is like Robin to his Batman. It's just, it is what it is. Now, who are you a subject to? There's no sultan in Morocco.
Bro, I was just getting ready to ask the question.
There's no sultan in Morocco. So what
country?
That's right. What, are you saying you're a subject of the king under the constitutional monarchy that is Morocco now? Produce your citizenship papers.
What country does have jurisdiction over Murakush matters?
What country does have jurisdiction over the Murakush group? You know which country? The United States of America. Okay, let's continue. It says, consequently, all prisoner litigation, like claims challenging any events associated with arrests, searches, detention, incarceration, prosecution, conviction, etc., that occur within the United States' actual geographical territory. And it says in parentheses, and especially if these events involved individuals who reside within that territory, meaning they were living in New Jersey. They were living in New Jersey. Okay, it says, cannot possibly implicate any provision of the treaty with Morocco. Therefore, all such prisoners litigation, and it has prisoners hyphen litigation, so as to say that, and we want to clarify, as the courts did with their excellent breakdown, that by annexing litigation with a hyphen to prisoners, just let it be known that it's not acceptable, period, not just to prisoners. It says, therefore, all such prisoners litigations, like claims invoking the Barbary treaties, either collectively or individually. Let me pause, because they like to cite all of these different treaties. Remember, they spoke about a book that got a whole bunch of treaties. On their website, you see these frivolous books that are full of treaties for what they're inapplicable. And I'm going to break that down in 1 second as well. But it says, let me continue. Let me go back. Collective or individually, individually meaning the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the United States and Morocco, 1786. It continues, are necessarily frivolous, which in turn means that any pleading asserting such claim is not bona fide. So let me tell y'all real quick what Murakush was successful in doing. The group that is known as Murakush was successful in setting a precedent that will live on and will be referenced in antecedents by all courts, particularly district courts, and that anybody invoking any of these treaties will be dismissed summarily on its face. Like this is just what's established here.
That's what they're setting. Yeah.
I want you to come in. I want to make this last point on this. Now, 1956, and I should have had this in my notes, but I have a blog, a YouTube. I don't know if I have that on YouTube, but it's on my Blog Talk Radio. You can look up Moorish Science Radio. And the title is called Moorish Myth Busting, using the Treaty of Peace and Friendship as a legal argument, where I point for point deconstruct this false notion, this idea. Now, in 1956, Dwight D. Eisenhower issued a memorandum. This memorandum closed down all consular jurisdictions, particularly consular jurisdictions in Morocco, which is why the court was saying consular jurisdiction wasn't available to them. It was, number one, they weren't Moors. That treaty was specifically speaking about, like, oh man, we could really just get into that aspect as well, just going into the treaty. But it closed down consular jurisdiction. So therefore, no consular assistance was available. My question to those of you who are in my chat right now, cheerleading the Murakush group's ideology, their treaty-based ideology. I had some guy come on my thread trying to use that fallacy called pathos. He was trying to appeal to my emotions. Come on, Moore. Why are you going so hard? Why? Like, wait a minute. These guys have a whole book just dissing the MSC of A, claiming that it's ineffective, and well, we've shown and proved that we are very effective. The teachings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali has been very, very effective. We have helped change people's lives. Brother, I've seen this brother downtown Atlanta, and you know, I thought I was in disguise. No fez on, had to fit it on like I got on right now. And the brother said, Lord Abba, and he walked up to me, embraced me, said, I got a couple of your books, your radio show, like your YouTube. He said, these things have helped change my life and made me a better man. You see, this is what a Muslim does. This is what a Muslim, if you don't want to use the term Muslim and Muslim is the same exact thing. It's what a Muslim does. This is what one of peace does. But I'm at the justice phase of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice right now. Now, there was no more consular jurisdiction given from anybody. The United States wouldn't have consulars in Morocco, and Morocco wouldn't have consulars here to assist. I had a brother hit me up when I was building it with Murakush, and we were like at our peak, and he said, listen, bro, he said, I listened, like I would get these messages a lot. I listened to all these brothers, and you are the only one that seemed like you got a real heart. Like literally, this is what people would say to me. I got a friend of mine that was locked up. He said he's from Morocco. I think he said the brother got caught with some drugs or something. He said this guy was a natural born citizen of Morocco. He said none of that stuff meant nothing. The treaty, it was no consular. It was none of that stuff. He got to do that. He had to do that 2-3 years that he got sentenced to. And as he's saying this, I'm starting to weigh all of this stuff because I'm starting to get a lot of people that's hitting me up on the side saying, yo, brother, brother Nebu Abba or brother Lord Abba, yo, them guys jerked me, man. They jerked me out my money. Yo, can I call you and just talk to you for a minute? And I would take the calls. I'm listening. Like, wait up, what happened? So, this started to decline, and this is where we're at now. And these guys, but before you come in, let me just say this. Guys, when I hear these brothers speak, when I hear people like Young Pharaoh, when I hear people like Polite, even Ali Muhammad, we supposed to get this celebrity boxing match going. I done started I've already been in the gym, but I done picked up my training a little more vigorously now, just in case it does happen, because you're not going to keep threatening me, point blank, period, especially threatening me to go into a boxing gym. Like, I don't throw these hands. I'm sorry, y'all. I just got to put it out there. But when I hear these guys, even King Noble, I hear them speak. I'm listening for detailed articulation, right? And I'm like, wow, they would be much better served as representatives for our people in the political field. But they choose to create, as the 48 Laws of Power states, a cult-like following by teaching a bunch of pseudo, inapplicable nonsense. And they keep leading people further along the path of this nonsense, and they gain more and more followers every day, and they don't realize that they're following exactly what the Europeans laid out for them, is what I mentioned earlier, individualism and existentialism, because this puts you out of group thinking and puts you into the thinking of I, me. And We're suffering because of it. This is my plea. Even to Cheyenne and Elamir, leave that stuff alone. We just deconstructed your whole ideology in about 3 hours. 3 hours. I wouldn't purchase one of your books, but somebody donated them to us because they brought them and found them wholly inapplicable. We would go through and line by line and page by page create 10 volumes off of deconstructing your information. It's not scholastic, it's bogus. Leave that stuff alone. Y'all dudes are American citizens. Y'all would be well served being lawyers. Elamir, I always felt that brother could have been a good lawyer and could have really fought a cause worth fighting, as opposed to practicing insanity, doing the same things over and over again, expecting a different result. They're going to keep fouling. We got foulings to prove. No, you don't. You have foulings just to have foulings. That's all you have. You guys are doing absolutely nothing. You can't name any of your accomplishments other than you've jerked people. You go into that category of people that jerk people out of their money, and you were good at it. Polite knocked all y'all out the box now, but I'm just saying. It is what it is. Polite took over. That's why Ali Muhammad started going that Polite. I'm cutting into his money, debunking his stuff. Then Polite come on the scene with his rehash, status correction, sovereignty nonsense. Like, that stuff is garbage. It's garbage.
He Polite stepped up and took them dudes' places, man. He stepped up and took their place.
He knocked them out the box.
Stepped up and took their place. But let me just say this real quick.
Go ahead, brother.
Being that those guys are not citizens of any recognized state, and that particularly they're not citizens or subjects of Morocco. Let me just say what happened to some people who were actual citizens or subjects of Morocco's. They were convicted in a U.S. terror trial. 2 Moroccan immigrants were found guilty in the United States of conspiring to support Islamic extremists plotting attacks in the United States and the Middle East. So these actual Moroccans were convicted in a United States court, that they should have been making arguments that the United States does not have jurisdiction over them because there's some kind of a treaty between the United States and Morocco.
Crazy,
like,
man.
An actual Moroccan got convicted that the United States, like this guy was saying, talking about Moors operating outside of the jurisdiction of what? The jurisdiction of who? The United States? How do you operate outside of the jurisdiction of the United States while you're on United States soil? You're not no kind of diplomat from some other nation.
Facts.
Diplomat from no other nation. You're a daggone citizen. At the very least, you're a resident here, and there's no law that says that the United States can't enforce its laws against some resident that's just here taking up space.
That's right.
Man, please.
So we see,
please. That's been my argument to any of those sovereign citizens. I'm like, I don't care whether you pull up the Treaty of Paris, pull up the Treaty of Peace and Freedom. I don't care what you pull up.
The Treaty of Verona.
The secret Treaty of Verona that somehow they found out about, which is supposed to be secret, but they know about it. Whatever the case is, I don't care which one you pull up. The United States, sovereign, autonomous, independent nation, and is acknowledged as a world power by every other nation on this planet, and it is going to enact legislation and it will enforce legislation. The states were not stripped of their police power, and on the contrary, the states, be it the 10th Amendment, have the authority to enact and enforce legislation, be it the police powers.
Look at what one of these delusional brothers in the chat said. Some guy named Scimitar L. You could tell he's a Murakush sympathizer. If he's not with them, he's probably, I don't know, he's probably just with that whole thing. But look what he says. Many of the Moroccans that you are talking about are mostly French and not the Berbers. That is the kingdom of Morocco. We
Oh.
represent the empire. A kingdom is subordinate to an empire. You see how delusional these people are.
Where's
Like,
the empire? Who's the emperor? Ask him who's the emperor.
Right.
I'll wait.
Yeah.
Let's wait for him to answer. Just ask him who's the emperor.
Oh, he says
Let's see what he says.
He says he's Great Seal, equally worse. Now, Scimitar L, type in the chat, who's the emperor? Because if there's an empire,
it must be an emperor.
That's right. They are subordinate kingdoms, and each of these kingdoms have their kings, but they all answer to the emperor. Who's the emperor?
We'll wait. Let's wait. Let's see what he say. I got a few minutes.
Yeah, somebody asked about, do I have information on the Mormons? I mean, just basic information. He says Mormonism appears to be attempting to co-opt the Moors. I don't know anything about that. I can't speak on that, beloved.
Me neither. I don't even care about it.
Scimitar L hasn't responded yet.
Come on, Scimitar L. you must know something. You threw it out there. You must know something.
There. Who's the emperor of the empire that you're speaking about? Or maybe he'll come back to it. Anyway, we've dissected. Somebody said, don't hold your breath. We've dissected the claims of Murakush, and there are many. You still on, Ali?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, my other feed went off, which means we probably going to cut off in a couple minutes. I think it went off. Let's see.
Can the people still hear?
Oh, yeah. They can still hear us. Okay, Islam, bro. And tell them Moors it's okay to get your L's too. Yeah, your driver's. Y'all go out there and get them driver's license. Don't listen to these sovereign citizen cats. Driver's licenses are not contracts that enslave you. That stuff is bogus. Driver's licenses mean that you are being qualified to drive a vehicle. I touch on this stuff all the time.
A dangerous vehicle at that.
Let me see. Yeah, no comeback from Scimitar L still. But if Murakush, if they're truthful, if they're honest, they should be able to come back with point-for-point rebuttals based on the historical records, not stuff that they're making up off the top of their head, taking out of context. See, they know that the average person really doesn't know this stuff. So to the average person, it may look like, yo, Murakush went at the MSTA dudes and destroyed them. I was watching it live. I usually don't click on Taharka's show. I mean, I just got to be honest. The brother, he's a hater. He hates me. That's why he does I'm going to keep reiterating this, whole shows trying to slander my name, talk about you got a foul on me, and you're going to do a series of videos going out like that's craziness. But anyway, I was in there, I'm watching, and people in the chat were saying, Lord Abba need to be in this discussion. Where's Lord Abba at? Where's Lord Abba at? You know, you had the Murakush guy saying, oh, no, not Lord Abba. But really, they were saying that out of fear because they know what we've done to them just in a Facebook group. And they knew that if we had a live, let me let the people know that we had a live discussion with, we were supposed to set up a live debate with Murakush. I believe that was December or November of 2016 or something to that effect. And, you know, they canceled. They canceled because we had like a pre-discourse in the group. And in this pre-discourse, we was killing these dudes. And they wanted it to be Cheyenne and Elamir versus me. They didn't want Ali Bey and they didn't want Ali Bey and Wear L. You remember that, right?
They said we weren't qualified to. They said we weren't qualified to even talk with them or something like that.
That's
I'm
right.
like, geez, man, these guys are like some serious law masters and stuff here, man.
And we were. Okay, wait, hold on. Scimitar L. Somebody said, hi, he's back. Scimitar L says there does not have to be an emperor seated to enforce law. Our position is based on the history of what was on our land from our forefather, the Emperor of Morocco.
Stop.
This,
That is so bad.
I mean, and we see that this way of thinking is so backwards that.
See, look at this. We asked him a very specific question.
He said we sound like COINTELPRO. He using the Taj Tariq Bey line. COINTELPRO. We agents now.
But the point is, we asked him a very based on an assertion. He comes back with talking about enforcing law. Nobody said anything about enforcing law. We asked him very specifically, who is the emperor of this empire that you claim to be a part of? And he says there doesn't need to be an emperor in order to enforce law. And nobody asked you about enforcing law. We asked you, who is the emperor?
That's right. Typical tactic. Now, he says this. He came back. He says, you brothers sound like COINTELPRO telling Moors that they need a driver's license. Did Noble Drew Ali tell you to get a driver's license? Like, people, look at how crazy this sounds. Noble Drew Ali lived in the 1920s, 1910s and 1920s. Driver's licenses were not even very popular instruments back then. And to be honest, not many of our people even drove cars. So, you know, we live in a time now where many people have cars. And if you get on the highway and you drive one of these dangerous 1 ton, little less than 1 ton, over 1 ton vehicles, you kill somebody, you're uninsured, right? The state would then become liable. The state shifted the responsibility on the individual because the Constitution charges us as citizens to maintain the public safety. And this is where the police powers essentially derive from, the maintenance of public safety. Now, if you don't have an instrument claiming that you are not qualified to drive this vehicle and you kill somebody, or even worse, you tell your 18 or 17-year-old son or daughter, go ahead, get behind the wheel. Yeah, we took you for a few spins in the parking lot. And they go out and they get killed because they never got proper driving instructions. They never read the manual that comes along with taking the test to get your driver's license. You have to pass a written test, then you have to pass a driver's test. Basically, you have to study for this test. You didn't know what the signs meant. Like, are you serious? Who would do that? Who would run? I want Brother Scimitar L. Your argument is bogus, but I want to try to appeal to your logic here. If you were president, king, emperor of some nation, state, polity, etc., are you telling me that you wouldn't have your subjects or citizens qualified to operate dangerous machinery? That they could just get on the road free, willy-nilly? Like, this is nonsensical and backwards, beloved. And no civilized thinking individual would even think like that. So you represent Great Seal. Great Seal is another bogus sovereign citizen group. It's right up there with Murakush and the Moors Order of the Round Table and whatever other group out there that promote these ideologies that stem from Euro-Christian, Confederate, spawns of the Confederate sovereign citizens. And that's it. That's it. He said, we Moriscos. And he's out. Peace. See ya. Go spread that lie to the people that'll listen to you. And after they get locked up, come back and tell us about, you know, what happened. How did you get them out of jail? Stop lying, beloved.
Check this out. There was a 1979 California appellate court case where they stated something very important. They said that, like all constitutional rights, the right of free movement is not absolute and may be reasonably restricted in the public interest, necessarily related to driver's licenses, but the underlying issue is the right of free movement. We know that the government has the right to arrest movement, from the fact that they have the police power. Just from the fact that they sometimes exercise the police power by making arrests. So when you get arrested based on probable cause or reasonable suspicion, is being done. What's happening at that moment is your right to freedom of movement is being cut off. Yes, the government has that authority. And then we go into an actual Supreme Court case. It's a case from 1941. There are earlier cases that we've already thrown up, but this one is from 1941. It's called Reitz versus Mealy. And this is an actual United States Supreme Court case. They say the use of the public highways by motor vehicles with its consequent dangers renders the reasonableness and necessity of regulation apparent. The universal practice is to register ownership of automobiles and to license their drivers. Means adopted by the states to ensure competence and care on the part of its licensees and to protect others using the highway is consonant with due process. Now, this is the actual Supreme Court ruling dealing specifically. So let me just say this. There's 5 points that come out of this. Number one, licenses are a proper use of police power and actually protect the individual's right to travel. Number two, the licensing laws have a valid public safety interest at the core. Number three, they don't intend to, nor do they actually stop people from traveling. Number four, travel is a protected right. Driving.
That's right.
Five, the license is a license to operate a dangerous machine. It is not a license to travel, but to operate the machine.
That's right. So, and now look, the Murakush group has a whole book on right to travel. I don't know if they still selling it, but they had it. Oh yeah, they probably all did. Which goes to show you people that the Murakush group, just like the rest of those other groups, sovereign citizens with a rehashed sovereign citizen ideology, sprinkled in with remnants of the derivation of what C.M. Bey taught, even though he didn't teach that. It was Moors that took that stuff. As Sharif Bey, I interviewed him on Moorish Science Radio some years ago. You can find that interview on my YouTube channel, Debunking UCC Sovereignty Myths, with one of the brothers that helped create it or something to that effect. They brought these ideas back to New York. Hakeem Bey and them guys picked this stuff up. They created, and Sharif Bey said in that interview that this stuff was experiments, but Sharif Bey and them were young and hot-headed, and they went and just tried all of this stuff anyway. And you still have people like Murakush, like these guys are going to be 50 years old, and they're going to still be sitting at the computer on Google Hangouts or whatever the new form will be in the future, promoting right to travel and all of this nonsense. Then they're going to be emperors. These guys call themselves sultans, and they got fancy names, Mujahideen and all of this stuff, to their 3- and 4-man all boys group. There's no, not that I know of, there's no female members of Murakush. Why? Where the sisters at? This is all boys. This is all boys club. You trying to tell me you're gonna nation build with no women? This is just ridiculous. And like the brother Elamir, this one sister that I build with, he told her that they give out jobs at Murakush So I was hitting the sister in the back channel, asked them this, asked them that. Watch how easily they exposed themselves, and they did just that. And once he realized the nature of her questions were exposing his nonsense, he invites her into his Moorish harem. You got a harem? You like, come on, stop it. These guys are playing games, and the time for these games are over. This Moorish movement needs a makeover from the MST of A perspective all the way to the sovereign citizen perspective. If these arguments that we've made here today, that if we've been making for the past couple of years are false or frivolous, debunk them. Use historicity. That's all you got to do. Don't talk about stealing TVs from Rent-A-Center. Like, that's lame. That's something that a child would do. I came and deconstructed your doctrine, if you will, because this is your doctrine that you follow. Do that. That's all you have to do. And I'll respect it, number one, because where we stand now, I don't respect it. You could play nice for those guys, but I know you. And that's why I said, with those guys, you have to punch them in the mouth. You have to step on their necks until their heads pop off. I don't mean to sound so graphic, but I mean, you know, our Moorish Quran teaches us about our foot and how it's used to crush the scorpion in the head of a snake. So it is what it is, you know, and when we're dealing with snakes and scorpions, you're not going to let snakes and scorpions just run around in your house. And our house is this Moorish movement, point blank, period. And now the Moorish Science Temple of America is getting some house cleaning done right now as well. You know, some things are being exposed on that front. So, you know, it is what it is. Brother Ali Bey, if you have any closing statements, please, you know, we've showed and proved. We've not only deconstructed their claims, we've read their court cases and show the frivolity of what it is that they teach, not just from our own opinions, but the judicial, legal opinions of the very courts that they send their unsuspecting members to file these documents. So that's where we're at right now.
Right. Yeah. Well, the only thing I would say is it's 12 o'clock, and I really don't think at the end of the day, what the judge calls them, paper terrorists, scofflaws,
ne'er-do-wells.
Ne'er-do-wells. I mean, they pretty much sum it up in them cases, and there's multiple cases. There's multiple documents that can be read on these guys to show this streak of losing. You know, they have a losing streak, like, you know, it's really crazy, man. But I don't see how anybody time and effort losing on a consistent basis like that, man. But anyway, be that as it may, they still fighting that fight. So it's whatever, that's their business, you know. And those who want to follow them, I hope you get whatever you're looking for.
Facts. Well, you know, with that, we're gonna close this thing out. You know, I'm gonna just give a little message. It is time for us to level up as Moorish Americans. You know, I am willing to work with anybody who's willing, not just to work with me, but work with what I represent, because I represent what Prophet Noble Drew Ali represented and brought to us. Whether you agree with that or you feel that it's false or whatever, that's fine. I know in my heart that it's real. And I've been challenged. My brother right here, Ali Bey, he has challenged me. I say this all the time. He has challenged me over the years because there were still remnants of this sovereignty stuff in my own demonstration. As a matter of fact, in my Murakush breakdown, you're going to hear me talk about, you know, going into the temple to naturalize. And that's just completely false. I can look back and correct myself and anybody. It's not willing to do that. These people are not trying to lead you anywhere. They're trying to keep you walking in circles while digging in your pockets at the same time. Or as the prophet said, shearing your wool from the back like a sheep, so that basically the wool flaps over your eyes. Now you can't see where you're going or what you're doing. And the person that's doing the shearing can have his way with you. And this is what's going on. This Moorish movement right now. So you members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Sharif Beys, I'm gonna call names, the Tahaka Beys, the brothers and Ali's men that support hate and slander, that would try to cancel out other brothers from coming on just because they, and this is my assessment of it, represent way L's thought. Not that they just represent the truth, but because you believe they represent my thought, this hate, this childish, petty stuff that we did in the hood or did in junior school, middle school, junior high school. Now, it's time to cut this stuff out. If I can appeal to you all, I know most of you are hard-hearted and you believe yourselves to be good Muslims, and you gather with other people who are just like you, and you post up these pictures and create this image that you're unified, but you don't realize that you're just basically all unified haters. And I gotta be real in this instance, because you're no better than the Murakush guys. It is their job to keep people from coming into the Moorish Science Temple of America, because they are of their father, the devil, the lower self. And you don't understand that you are the same exact way. Any man that could sit up there, because I haven't spoken on this in the public, so I'm going to take this time to do it as I'm closing out. Go back and watch. I want you all to go back and watch, that haven't watched Tahaka Bey's last show, Wannabes, on the Swarm. This guy does a whole hour. He's talking about me, making up stuff, that I work at a Jewish supermarket, stocking shelves for Jews. And I'm like, what would make a Muslim that claims that he follows Prophet? Now, this is just one of many false claims, and I want you all to go back and watch it, because those that know me and know me personally, they know what I do. I want you all to go back and watch. It's called Wannabes on the Swarm. What would make a man that calls himself a Muslim sit on a live stream, talk about another brother, to the fact that they have to make up lies about that person, and then turn around and call themselves Muslim and do it in front of their own sons, little baby boy sitting there? Something has to be inherently wrong in the thinking of this individual, insofar as the teachings are not internalized. They're external. They're a facade. They're things that you just say. They're sweet to the tongue, but bitter to the belly, because if you internalize them, then you couldn't be a person that can cut on a light switch and be Muslim in one moment, and then cut off a light switch and not be Muslim anymore. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. So I'm taking this time in this closeout to appeal to any sensibilities that you all may have. You temples, clean up your acts. So I believe that the great day of retribution is coming. And a lot of you Moors in the Moorish Science Temple of America, see them guys that follow Murakush and follow sovereign citizen ideals, oh, their time is coming. Their time is coming. Really, their time is here. That stuff is fading out to exist. Nobody's buying into that stuff anymore. You know, nobody's really. You may get a person here, person there. You have no members. It's just Elamir, Cheyenne, probably like 2-3 other people. That's about it. It's like a puddle. You know, when it rains, there's puddles outside, and the sun comes out, the higher and hotter and more intense the heat get, the puddle dries up. That's all these guys are. They're puddles under the hot sun, and they're drying up. And this is a perfect time for the Moorish Science Temple of America to step up and be about the work that Prophet Noble Drew Ali is about, because there's no way that I, as a Muslim, would let another Muslim that I'm cool with sit there and degrade another Muslim. Period. Would never do that. Would never, how could you not? All of these people that claim this righteous cloak, you sit there and you let this brother talk about me and talk about Grimion L like a dog, and nobody, pulled this brother's coattail. Nobody made a public announcement and said, I denounce these things that this brother is saying, and it is un-Muslim. Like, no, you all cheered. Why? Because you hated Wayel. Why did you hate Wayel? What did Wayel do to you? Wayel went out there and taught the people. Wayel went out there and wrote books to educate the people on the Moorish Science Temple of America. Wayel wrote self-help books and put them into the prisons, which caused the brother to walk up to me and give me a big hug and said, your teachings have helped save my life. But it wasn't my teachings. It was the teachings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So how could the thing that I'm using to help save a brother's life, you in turn use to try to destroy a brother? These things make absolutely no sense, and you all are hypocrites. So I'm talking to you, Tahaka Bey and Sharif Bey, and all the rest of you haters. Get off of that stuff. This is not what Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought. You let them guys come on and basically embarrass the movement by not properly answering their claims and letting them wiggle and weasel out of stuff, all because you didn't want certain brothers on your platform, like you didn't want me on that platform. You dictated to Hawker's show. You dictated because you're the leader of that group. If I'm wrong, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Please.
I have one last thing I would like to say.
Definitely.
I would like to read. This is from the IRS's website. It's an article called Claiming Tax Treaty Benefits. These guys love treaties arguments. It says exemption from withholding. If a tax treaty between the United States and your country, let me read that again. If a tax treaty between the United States and your country provides an exemption from or a reduced rate of withholding for certain items of income, you should notify the payer of the income, the withholding agent of your foreign status, to claim the benefits of the treaty. Generally, you do this by filing Form W8BEN. Now, the problem with this is that it says if a tax treaty between the United States and your country provides an exemption from or a reduced rate of withholding for certain items of income. Back to which country are you a citizen of?
That's right. That's right.
But that was it. I don't want to. We beating a dead horse, man. I mean,
yeah, we are. That's why I just took those last couple of minutes to go at them guys in hopes that they hear the message, an appeal to pathos and logos for that matter, and ethos, or an appeal to all three, and stop this nonsense. We have a common cause. Let's get this thing done, and in doing so, we can I'm gonna always be for the promotion of what's right, and if the Moorish Science Temple of America is doing right, then I'm gonna, if somebody hits me up, for instance, and says, yo, I'm in Philly, I need to go to a temple, I'm going to send them to Azim Hopkins Bay. Why? Because I know that that's a good mall. Somebody hits me up in Syracuse and says, I need to go to a temple. I'm not going to say go with somebody. Somebody hits me up in Baltimore, so I'm not going to say go, because I don't think that those are good brothers. If somebody hits me up in Dallas or the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I'm going to send them to my brother Chadwick Taylor L, because I know that that's a good mall. I'm going to send them more good malls, or malls to good malls. I'm not going to send nobody to no snakes or scorpions. With that, I say peace.
Peace, peace.